Kururangi. Then the live right here.
I'm looking.
That spelling is definitely not right.
Kururangi.
You said it's Khru.
Kuru.
Kuru.
A-N-G-N.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kururangi.
What?
Kururangi? How do you say it?
Kururangi.
No.
Morena tātou. Kia tukuna ke karakia kina ia tātai. Nō reira he manoa morani ki mua. Whitiana mai he mauri kauanu he mauri arataki. Hei tāhuhu mo te kaupapa o tēnei rā. Hara mai rā kōtau nā taona o tēnei hui nā tātou. Tēnā kaeke, tēnei ka paua ki runa, ka paua ki raro, ka paua ki te pai o tutuki. Hara mai te pai, hara mai te ahurei, haumi hui tai ki e. Nō reira, ka tiki nāsi ko tērā karakia ki nei a tātou. Nāci parau I rona ke neu, nāci parau te taitoke nau, hara mai. Hara mai ki tēnei ki roto kahununu nei, ke mekira ki roto ahuriri. E mihekana kia tātou ko tatu mai, ki te aha, ki te whakanui I nā mahi mekira a City Parliament. Ka hoki nā whakaaro kia Pat McNeill. Nā hikoi, tēnei hikoi, anei tātou e whakatinana nei I rā huatana mai rāno. Nā re koe ka mihi ake kia kōtau, kōtau kua ka whiwhiti weke tēnei rā, ka nui nā manaki tāna ki nei a kōtau. Nā reira, ka re toro hi ake nā mihi kia tātou, Enari ka hoki tau nā whakaaro ki o tātou tini aitua, huri noa. Ara, ko tērā kuia tērā e whakatutu puehu nei I roto o tamaki makaurau, koira nā tānata, hei whakauhoa ke I te wairua Māori. Nā reira, ko tātou tēnei, e hui nei, e hikoi nei nā huatana katoa o a tātou. Nā reira, kare e torohi ake nā kōrero, nā reira, e mihekana kia kōtau, nō reira, tēnā kōtau, kia ora tātou.
Te kāroro tangi tararau mai runa o tau te rana te pātiki tānui o tiere te pawa pātoto Reira, huri noa, tēnā kōtau. Kia ora tātou. Sorry, koira te taha kia au, but turning in the English language, I think I'll leave it to whoever's running this.
Kia ora I te whānau, nau mai hore mai, ki tēnei rā whakahirahira. Welcome everyone to Unity Day 2026, here at the Napier War Memorial Centre.
Alright, ngā mihi nui kia koutou mātua mā for opening us up today. We are Pakuru Pānui, Toi Matarua's Rangatahi Communications team, and we are a rangatahi-led kaupapa bringing voice, whakaaro and creativity to our communities. And we'd also like to give a special shout out to Sarah Pihima over there. She is our mentor / boss, and she is also an award recipient. Yeah.
Also, I would like to acknowledge my little brother. He's receiving an award for today for the mahi he has been doing in our community with Moko Boys. So, kia ora.
Yeah.
Koe.
All right, kia ora te whānau. My name's Tamia Ngāwhika. He iri tēnei no Ngāti Kahungunu, Ngāti Kawaha, me te aroa. And yeah.
Ko ai au, ko maungahara te maunga, ko takitume te waka, ko tangitu te moana, ko te ngāru te awa, ko tūtere te rotu, ko Ngāti Hinuru ngā hapu, ko Ngāti Kahungunu te iwi, ko Preston Ahau. And we are your MCs today. Today is about ko taitanga, about connection, and about reimagining what our community will look like if we lead with aroha.
But before we get into that, we have some housekeeping to go over. So, in the unlikely event of an emergency, a siren and bells will sound continuously. Please leave the venue immediately by the nearest exit, that's over there, and assemble on the forecourt area, and that's just outside on that white concrete part. If the emergency is an earthquake, please do not attempt to leave the building until shaking has stopped. Keep away from all glass, shelter under doorways and tables, drop cover hold whānau. If the earthquake is long or strong, self-evacuate to high ground immediately without waiting for evacuation notice due to tsunami threats. Our primary route is the stairs to the right of Te Pānia Hotel up the Seaview Terrace, so that's just outside and across the road. And our secondary route is Coot Road. If you are the first person at the emergency, please hit the nearest call point. Then contact reception immediately. Yeah.
First aid kit and defibrillator are located in the administrator's office. Staff are trained in first aid if you required assistance. Toilets are located in the main room, the lower level foyer, and near client lounge off the main. And car parking is available in 3 hours. Car park situated behind the Ocean Spas complex and in one row of
Okay. The adjacent beachfront car park. Access is off Marine Parade, 400 metres north of the centre. All-day and multi-day car parking passes are available at the centre's reception for attendees. Please know that street parking areas are 2 hours only, and parking on the forecourt at the front of the venue is for unloading and loading only. That means don't park your cars there, whānau. Just can drop them off and pick up. Ka pai? And this is also a non-smoking venue at all times. We are located in a Napier City Council fresh air zone and ask all attendees to respect this initiative by moving to the beach area to smoke. That's over there. Ka pai? And complimentary Wi-Fi is offered throughout the venue. To log in, simply agree to the terms and conditions. Yeah. And that's
we also have apologies from the MP for Napier, Katie Niman, Alwyn Corbin, Pilot City Chief. We are now moving into our first kōrero, transforming communities. These are the stories of unity, of action, and of people doing the mahi on the ground. Let's give a warm welcome to Matua Mark.
Morena koutou, how wonderful to see you all here, and thank you Toi Matarua for doing our MCs. The support of mana whenua is incredibly important to the Napier Pilot City Trust. I think Pat McGill, the founder of the Pilot City Trust, was one of the first true bicultural Pākehā that I knew. He walked in two worlds. And so having your support means a significant amount. We've got a short video clip to talk about moving forward, which is our first action. Here it comes. Now, this should be presented by Pete, but let's watch.
Pete, our Pouarahi, is out in the community every day offering kai, connection and compassion to our most vulnerable. He and Tom have also sparked a beautiful kaupapa in our mara, the garden.
An integral part of what we're doing with Ohuru Mowai is to actually put boys on a journey of recovery, and part of that really was pretty obvious that the biggest problem that boys have faced is with boredom. So, you know, there's nothing to do that is structured, and I decided there and then that when we opened the shelter that we needed to have something meaningful, a purpose. And for quite a few months we were just doing casual work, and then Tom offered the opportunity of us to use some land down by the river here, and we know it's really good soil for growing kuma, so I suggested to the boys they might be interested, and it was pretty certain that there is enough interest, eh Richie? Yeah. How did you see it when we were offered the opportunity?
We've done many things, but this...
special, eh?
Yeah, this garden, it's really teaching me a lot, and it's reconnecting myself back to nature. It's quite therapeutic in a way too.
So a special tribute to Pete, Papa Pete as he's known, Pete Finley. He received a Unity Award about 4 years ago for his work in the community. We try not to repeat them. But Pete, over the last 2 years, is probably the reason he's not here. He works himself to the bone, as Maxine can attest. But every morning he's been getting up, and with one or two supporters, he's been taking a crock pot of porridge around and giving breakfast to whānau on the street, the ones who are not involved in the shelter. And the shelter's been an absolutely magnificent, Ahuru Mowai has been an absolutely magnificent initiative, but we can't do everything, and Pete's very good at filling in the gaps. He spends a lot of time during the day supporting whānau tāne in the courts, and this is really just a short vignette about what he's on about. So a really big ups to Pete. Pete, I hope you're watching, or do watch this at some stage, but Napier really thanks you for the work that you do, the mahi. Thank you.
That was such a cool video. There you guys. So these are actually the kind of kaupapa that remind us solutions already exist within our communities. Yeah. It is now our honour to introduce the 2026 John Robson Memorial Lecture. Please welcome Professor Khylee Quince of Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Porou and Te Roroa Descent, Dean of Law at AUT and a strong voice for justice and transformation.
Following the lecture, we will move into a panel discussion. Nau mai, haere mai, Professor Khylee Quince.
Mōrena koutou katoa. Ko te mihi tuatahi ki te mana whenua o tēnei rohe, ki te whānau o te tai whenua, o te whanganui o Orotu, me mana ahuriri, me te Toi Matarua. E mihi ana kia koutou katoa. Te minita, tēnā koe matua, rauranga tira mā, ngā hau e whākua tai mai nei mō tēnei kaupapa, ngā mihi nui, ngā mihi māhana kia koutou. Ko waiau, hi uri tēnei no Ngāpuhi, Ngāti Porou me Ngāti Kahununu hoki. Ki te taho tōku māma no hokianga hau, ki te taho tōku pāpā no te tairāwhiti ahau. Ko Hikurangi te maunga, ko Waiapu te awa, ko Ngāti Porou me Ngāti Kahununu na iwi, ko Ngāti Rangi me Ngā Rākai Pāka ngā hapu. ko repo rua te marae. E tu ana hau ko Khylee Quince tōku ingoa. Good morning, happy Unity Day to you all. To the people of this rohe, my relations of Ngāti Kahununu, I extend my warmest greetings. To the people of the Four Winds who've gathered here today for this wonderful kaupapa, I greet you also. To my hosts, Mark and Barbara, ngā mihi mahana kia kouroa, and I also acknowledge the Pilot City Trust, in particular the life and work of your late Pautoko Manoa, Pat McGill. I never met Pat, but my friend sent me his book online a few days ago, and I've had a quick read of it, and he sounds like exactly the sort of ratbag I would have loved. We would have been good friends, I'm sure. So my name is Khylee Quince, and as you've heard, I'm Professor and Dean of Law at AUT in Tāmaki, Makaurau. I'm also a mama of three. I'm an eldest daughter, an avid hoko thrift shopper, crafter, sci-fi fan, and a long-suffering fan of underperforming sports teams, in particular the Warriors and Liverpool Football Club. So thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak with you this morning. This is a really great privilege to come in the shadow of a lineup of some of the great thought leaders of this nation and to speak to a kaupapa bearing the name of Dr. John Robson. And because I've been so busy, it wasn't until last night that I Googled to see who previous speakers had been, and I had a bit of a freak out because they were really the good and the great, you know, some incredible people, some very good friends and mentors of mine. So this is a really great privilege. I come to this kaupapa largely as a teacher and researcher of criminal law and justice. I've sat as a member of the New Zealand Parole Board, worst gig of my life. Consultant with corrections and justice, very close on the worst gig of my life podium. But most importantly, as many of us here today, I come as a mokopuna, a niece, a cousin and an auntie of very many whānau who've been terribly impacted by the experience of incarceration. And what a time to be thinking about alternatives to prison, as we reach an all-time high of prison numbers, ticking over 11,000 people in January of this year, and an imprisonment rate that is more than double that of Canada's and significantly higher than our neighbours in Australia. So two places we like to benchmark ourselves against. So our impulse to incarcerate is stronger than ever, in the face of, as we know, very strong evidence of its ineffectiveness in deterring offending and in providing pathways to rehabilitation and reintegration. As we know, amongst those 11,000 people, a very high percentage of those people are incarcerated on remand, and they are there purely for reasons that are not related to either the seriousness of their offending, their risk of gapping before they go to court. They are there because of a lack of a suitable bail address or other structural factors that should not be relevant. So the evidence has always been clear that you cannot imprison your way out of social issues, whether that be underinvestment in health, housing, as we've just heard, education or employment opportunities. And we know that Māori bear the brunt of this. These are not phenomena that are experienced evenly across our society. And that appetite for punishment comes at a huge opportunity cost for investment elsewhere. And the 2024 budget tagged $803 million over 5 years for corrections to manage those people who are in cages. And last year, a further $492 million added to that. If you think about and you compare that, all treaty settlements with hapu and iwi combined throughout Aotearoa amounts to $2.7 billion. So the Crown is clearly more committed to providing cages for our people than for our flourishing. $2.7 billion, another comparator, that's 5 weeks of compulsory national superannuation. That is a terrible comparison. I don't think I need to walk through the nonsense that is carceral logic, you know, the justifications for the continuing existence of carceral institutions in the face of all of that overwhelming evidence of ineffectiveness. But I do want to say that we as Māori have resisted prison since the arrival of the colonial settler state. It was evident in the 1843 case of Te Wāhu, a rangatira who, on receiving a 2-month sentence of imprisonment in Pōneke for theft, requested that he would rather be put to death by a tomahawk than to languish in a cell. Similarly, the refusal of Ngāti Toa chiefs Te Rauparaha and Te Rangi Haiata to submit to a Crown warrant for their arrest, that was met with a statement that similarly they would rather be put to death than imprisoned. My friend, a local friend here last night, told me similarly that her tupuna from Omahu would come and take their people from the Napier prison on the hill here and say, you have no right to keep our people. So our tupuna did not have prisons. They could not understand how you would remove people from community and then return them without addressing the relationships that their harm had disrupted. So for decades, our experience of justice has been inequitable, and this affects everybody in the community, including our children. My partner David teaches primary school in Māngere in South Auckland, in a primary school of 600 Māori and Pacifica students. Last year, he took them for a week on a little a unit on what was essentially civic education, including justice, giving them a basic taste of justice. He teaches year 5 and 6. And he gave the kids a short quiz at the end of the week. And one of the questions in his quiz, he asked the children, was, what do you call the group of 12 people in a courtroom who decide whether or not a person is innocent or guilty? And a young Māori boy at the front puts his hand up and goes, oh, sir. He says, yes, what is the name of that 12 people? He goes, Pākehā. Pākehā. That answer's equal parts funny and horrifying. Because that's his 10-year-old view, the view of a 10-year-old boy of the justice system based on the experience of his community, his whānau. I live in Mount Roskill, and I drive past Mount Eden Prison every day of the week, both to and from work. And it's in the middle of my city, and I think many people in my city don't even know that that's what that is that we drive past every day. Many fellow commuters would not realise that those buildings are there and that they hold our people every day. There wouldn't be a Māori in Auckland that doesn't know that, though. So I don't want to spend all my time talking about the negative stuff. There's a lot of that, particularly in the last couple of years. So let's move mai te pō ki te ao marama, so from the darkness into the light, and think about that path towards the election and how we might make progress on our shared goals for unity and community. I don't have a strong connection to my kahununu whakapapa, which comes via my paternal grandmother. So my father was a Maaki, born and raised in Tikitiki, but his mother is Kath Christie from Nuhaka, Mahia, born and raised in Salt Lake City. She named all of her 5 sons for various landmarks and suburbs of Salt Lake City. And Kath was great-great-granddaughter of Rākai Pāka Rangatira Ihaka Whānga. So I don't have a great personal hononga here in terms of my lived experience, but I did think I would reference one of our kahununu whakatauki around which to frame my kōrero today. And it's short because I'm not a real speaker, so I thought I'd frame this around he mana ko te kaura I kore ai. Wishing for crayfish brings you none. Wishing for crayfish brings you none. A contemporary explanation or interpretation of those words might be, do the mahi, get the treats. You've got to do a lot of hard work to get something as treasured and prized as kaura or crayfish for your table. That proverb speaks to the collective and collaborative knowledge and experience of many minds and hands needed to produce something special. Having crayfish at your hakari or feast for manuhiri, your visitors, symbolises not only that collective effort and what I call AI, the real AI, ancestral intelligence, but it also represents the ethos and practice of manaakitanga, uplifting and upholding the mana and authority of others by providing that very valued kai for others. So to my mind, that whakatauki represents the complementary roles and responsibilities of mana whenua and also as manuhiri. In treaty language, we'd say of tangata whenua and tangata tiriti in the post-colonial context. To be mana whenua relates to exclusivity, the things that only we can do, the responsibility of care for our people, things and places within our sphere of mana. To be manuhiri or tangata tiriti speaks to inclusivity, the sharing of those spaces and of those resources under that ethos of manaakitanga, of care. But each role requires an acknowledgement of and respect for the other. It's a form of unity that also respects our separateness. We are not the same. So to get to that goal of having koda or crayfish to share with your guests requires the knowledge and effort of many. The maramataka or calendar experts who know the best time to fish, the efforts of those who make and repair the pots, those who set the pots and retrieve them, the knowledge of the best spots to put them in, the skill of those who prepare the catch for eating, and the ringawera and those who lead guests to the table and entertain them while they eat. So these tasks all combined represent an ecosystem where people contribute their part to a desired outcome. So I'm no language expert, as I've just said, but it seems there's a whole lot of wisdom in those 7 little words. So I'll give my 2 cents worth as to what we might learn from those words in relation to that overall goal of unity or kotahitanga, and the specific one of building communities, not prisons, which might be that crayfish that we are seeking. So I know you've heard a lot on this topic over the years and worked towards that goal in various ways through the tireless advocacy of Pat and other local champions. I do want to acknowledge the passing of Matua Tom Hemopo, moi mai rā te rangatira, oki oki atu rā. So Tom's declaration that you don't have to be special to do what I did, and holding the state accountable for its failure to honour the tiriti and the corrections context, that's a call to action for us all. Do what you can, just do something. Even in my briefest dive into the work of Pat and Tom, their aroha for others, for what is tika and pono, what is correct and just, leaps off the page. They are just local people showing unrelenting love for their community, the ultimate expression of whanaungatanga. So I have a couple of messages to share. I know they say you should stick to 3 when you write a speech, but I'm extra, so you're getting 4. None of these will be new to you, but I think in the current global and political context and the local context, it's good to remind ourselves of what we are doing, how we're doing it, and why. So those 4 things. First thing, unity is not a prerequisite before taking action. Unity is not a prerequisite before taking action. The second thing is a call to tend to the urgent and the important. The urgent and the important. Third thing, I'm thinking about what community means, and at the heart, I think community is sharing stories. And then the final thing I'll speak to is you must, particularly when times are tough as they are now, is to celebrate your successes. So celebrate what I call the glimmers. So we'll start with number 1. So unity is not a prerequisite before taking action. Pretty short and sweet. I heard that particular phrasing from Tamati Kruger, chairman of Ngāi Tūhoi, shortly after their settlement with the Crown in 2014, where he made that statement. Unity is not a prerequisite before taking action. It is the ultimate goal in a multi-generational journey. It's the ultimate goal in a multi-generational journey. So that resonates with this idea that everyone has a part to contribute, and you may be planting seeds in a garden that you won't harvest in your lifetime. You may be planting seeds in gardens that you won't harvest in your lifetime. But that goal of unity is a unifier in itself. The key to keeping on track there is leadership, effective leadership. Tamati was talking in the context of his people not being unified post-settlement as to what the next steps might be for them. And in the end, he decides to do the rangatira thing, which is to make a captain's call. You know, what are we going to do? Where are we going next? So how do we know what effective leadership looks like then and heading on that path to unity? Another one of my mentors, so Justice Joe Williams, he's talked about the necessity of effective leadership and working towards a more just society, and his vision of that society is one where tamariki Māori are not uplifted, where tāne Māori are not imprisoned, and where wahine Māori are not unsafe in their homes. So Joe's core message is that our response to these challenges requires leadership that comprises 3 elements: courage, hard work, and vision, of which vision is the most important element. But you do need to have all of those 3 things working together, because courage on its own is sheer obstinance. Hard work on its own is just dumb labour. And vision on its own is just empty words. So you need all 3 of those things working together for effective leadership. So in our context, courage is evident in standing up for what is tika, what is pono, what Matua Moana Jackson, another local hero of course, described as the deep breath you take before doing something difficult. That's courage. It's required also to pick yourself up when things don't land, when you need to choose between accepting a compromise or letting something go and biding your time. The thing is, when time moves on, sometimes what we might think is courageous now may well be considered orthodox or normal before too long. So that was the first piece of advice. Unity, not a prerequisite before taking action. Second message, tend to the urgent and the important. This comes from my boss, so like many jobs, I have an annual performance review, and my boss some years ago was looking at what I do, and it looks scattered or, all sorts of things. And he said, you need to make sure you don't let the urgent get in the way of the important. Don't let the urgent get in the way of the important. I let him say that, and then I went away and I thought about it and decided, no, I don't agree with that. And the reason I don't agree with that is because not tending to the urgent would mean failing to attend to relationships and obligations while striving for that really big prize. If we applied that thinking of only attending to the important, then our goals of unity, community building, particularly prison abolition, we would be waiting a really long time before we had anything to celebrate. And most importantly, we would be ignoring the needs of people caught in crisis, those who are currently incarcerated, those who are recently released, for example. And some years ago, I remember having a crisis of confidence and asking Matua Moana, my uncle, and I said, am I doing the right thing, do you think? Should I be focusing on prison abolition or doing what I'm doing? Preparing lawyers to advocate for our people, doing all these bits and pieces of work. And he was absolutely unequivocal. All of those efforts are necessary. All of them contribute to the end goal. They are connected. So like that goal of the crayfish at the feast, each of those tasks to get there is part of the end objective, but also a valued activity in and of itself. And he also said, of course, that siloed effort of thinking about the siloed view of thinking about individual effort is at odds with our collectivist ethos, which supports flourishing communities and what Tamati Kruger referred to as that multi-generational journey. To use a health analogy, of course, it would be like saying that you only support preventative and primary health care and you wouldn't bother about critical health matters, and there would be no emergency department to triage people in crisis. So one of our core challenges in the abolitionist discourse is to think about, well, what might you replace prisons with? And the obvious answer to me is somewhere to belong, which leads us to that work of community building. I'm sure many of you will have seen the horrifying report from the Coroner's Office in the last 2 weeks, reporting that over the last 3 years, at least 14 people, 14 tāne Māori, have committed suicide shortly upon release from prison, mostly people who were not paroled but got to the end of their sentence. And the core theme amongst most of those deaths was a lack of support for reintegration and rehabilitation, very much reflecting an us and them attitude, leaving former inmates to flounder on their release despite little to no preparation for that eventuality. So at a national level, we might have justice reinvestment strategies, diverting much of that huge amount of money that the budget sets aside for corrections management. We might direct that money to alternatives to enable better infrastructure and services to both prevent and respond to harm at a local level. At a local level, we can work towards making your communities more inclusive. So in my view, the foundation of a strong community is one where people can see themselves and particularly their stories. So while some people may expend their energies on that direct goal of prison abolition, others may focus on building and strengthening communities, as I see many of you are here. So why would you do that? So that people are less likely to head down the carceral pathway, or to ensure that released prisoners have safe places of landing, care and connection to belong to when they leave the prison. So community, next point is sharing stories. I was quite intrigued by that catchphrase, building communities, not prisons, because you might read into that framing that prisons are not communities, when we all know that prisons have many of the features of community. They have social structures, norms and values, routines, hierarchies and internal rules. And we also know from the lived experience of many, vividly described in the Abuse and State Care Inquiry recently, that horrifyingly, prison is seen as a place of belonging, acceptance and even safety for some, which says more about the places outside the wire than in. It's a terrible indictment on a society where people express a desire, as many of those tāne did that ended up taking their lives, express a desire to return to the brutality of prison rather than to live in freedom outside the wire. But that's the harsh reality for many of our whānau, particularly people I encounter as they struggle to survive in a society that shuns them, excludes them, and fails to support their rehabilitation and reintegration. One memory that comes to mind, a few years ago, I met a 50-year-old Tāne Māori in Mount Eden prison. I was there to prepare a pre-sentence report for him. In our initial small talk, whakawhanaungatanga, I asked him if everything was going okay and if he liked his Sally. He had one cellmate. And he gave me a huge smile and he said, "Oh, yeah, all good, sis. My Sally's my bro. We first met when we were 8 years old sharing a room in Hokiō Beach School, 42 years earlier. They had done many lags together, these two little boys who'd been removed from their whānau and forged a lifelong friendship and relationship in state care and custody." Terrible. So that story defines, affirms one of those definitions of what I think we mean by community. They're a group of people who share a story so important it defines an aspect of who they are. They build a shared story of that community and its characters into their sense of themselves, and they see the world through the lens of that shared story. In and of itself, community is morally neutral. It's neither good or bad, it just is. It's more than sharing a location, and of course can exist outside of a geographical location, and ex-prisoners of course frequently speak of belonging to that prison community, whether they're in or outside of the wire. So the core feature then is belonging to a community where people understand their place, they understand expectations of them and what they may expect of others. And some communities do not foster or enable the trust, inclusivity and support needed to develop and maintain that sense of belonging. As an aside here, to mention one of my underperforming sports teams, I've been a Liverpool football fan for 40 years. Most of the years have been dire. And 6 months ago, I managed to visit Anfield in Liverpool for the first time in my life. A very strongly defined community with a very clear sense of shared story and character. Scousers are defined by their football, the Mersey, their awa, their river, a dockside history grounded in unionism and northernness, strong wit and a strong sense of irreverence. I kind of thought they're like the Ngāpuhi of England. I very strongly identify with those characteristics despite never having been there, but those stories resonate with me. Now, not all stories are good ones, and people will of course have different views of the emotions attached to stories, and we need to think carefully about who is included or excluded in our stories, because in communities, stories are shared experiences. So I haven't been to Napier many times or the Hawke's Bay many times in my life, but as a criminal lawyer, one of my core reference points for this place, Te Ahuriri, is that this is where Te Kōti and his supporters were imprisoned, unjustly. That's part of the story of this place, and in my view it's very important that you know that if you live on this whenua. So it's a rather obvious thing to say, but if you don't know those stories, then you can't create new ones moving forward together. I strongly believe that human beings are hardwired for connection. In Te Ao Māori, of course, we express that in the defining framework of whakapapa, the matrix of relationships that define who we are in relation to others and in relation to place. So we are in community before, after and beyond our own mortal existence. That's the multi-generational time frame that Tamati and others speak of. Just as an aside, as I'm speaking, I'm reminded of one of my whanaunga who sits on a presiding member on the Waitangi Tribunal, mentioned this to me a couple of years ago when she was presiding over an inquiry, the Central North Island inquiry, where a woman in her 50s was giving direct evidence to the tribunal about something that had happened within their rohe in the 1920s. And she's giving evidence in the first person. So I this and I that, and I saw this and then this happened. And one of the Pākehā members of the tribunal stopped her midstream and said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt and remind you that you are bound by the rules of evidence. And the rules of evidence require that you can only speak to things that you have personally experienced. And this wahine rolled her eyes and he said, well, you are 50, you're talking about the 1920s, you weren't there. You couldn't possibly speak to that. And she looked at him and she just rolled her eyes and she goes, of course I was there. My grandmother was there. Of course I was there. So to think about that collective and intergenerational identity is to think about our existence beyond our own mortal time here. So disruption of that whakapapa is an existential threat to our existence, severing the unseverable, including not only individual identity, but also the normative protections and accountabilities that arise from being in community with others and the environment. Last week, I returned from a visit to Turtle Island, to Canada, Vancouver in particular, and I met there with a Mohawk friend who's a similar criminal lawyer to me. And she said to me, there's no term in our language for criminal offender. There's no language for that. So we describe in our language a wrongdoer as one who acts as if they don't have any relations. One who acts as if they don't have any relations. And I said, that's very similar. You know, you're describing someone who acts as if they are not in community. They're not in community with people or place. So they, like us, rely upon the protection and guidance of community to keep people accountable and to keep them safe. There is nothing more dangerous to us than a person who is untethered to place and untethered to community. We see that in those perpetuating statistics of released prisoners and those who've returned, particularly from Australia in the last decade, as 501 deportees. They are untethered to whānau, often untethered to place. My small contribution to this sphere has been to share the stories of those entangled in the justice system, particularly those incarcerated, by way of these pre-sentence or cultural reports. I became involved in this in 2016. I've been teaching criminal law for nearly 30 years. That's a bit where you say, oh my gosh, you look 27. And after many years of teaching students, criminal law students, that there was this ability to speak to the background of offenders, initially through the Criminal Justice Act, and then since 2002, the Sentencing Act, which has now become very commonly known as a cultural report. Year after year, I would tell students that you could do this. Nobody did it. Nobody did it. And so in 2016, after many years of that, me and a couple of friends of mine decided we'd do something about it, that we would breathe life into that provision and start providing the service of presentation of cultural information to judges. By then, my friends were judges and senior lawyers, and they would refer, we jacked it all up as a very small community. They would refer clients or cases to me, and I would go to prisons and meet with inmates and spend a few hours hearing their stories. I'd then write it up, present it to court, sometimes in person, mostly by way of written report, because this was a little side hustle from my actual job. No template, I literally made it up, but I was always clear that doing it like that was not what was envisaged by the lawmakers. It was also not the gold standard of how it should be done. That should be done by community and whānau members. But of course, many of these people have become disconnected and not supported by their whānau. So in my view, it was always a second-class kind of strategy. Initially, I was really worried about whether or not people would even speak to me. I've got no training in interviewing, no training in social work. I'm a middle-class urban Māori and trained as a lawyer with a very privileged upbringing. Most importantly, though, I didn't know these people. Why would they speak to me? So the irony is that being a stranger and being arm's length was considered preferable to the Pākehā way of doing justice. So judges appreciated that. Oh, you don't know them. Good. You don't have a conflict of interest. From a Māori perspective, of course, I'm like, why would they talk to me? We don't know each other. So very much a second-class approach. So while I felt on the back foot, the system very much accepted what I had to say because I was supposedly a neutral observer. Interestingly, I never had any issue with people opening up to me. After I'd done a couple of hundred of these, I put down this to three things. One, being older. That puts you in the fire auntie category. So people are much more likely, particularly younger men, much more likely to speak to you. Second thing was being a mum, being a mama. Many of these young men were the age of my son, which was both painful when I saw how privileged my lazy hua of a son is compared to these poor boys. But being a mum is a magic sauce when you're trying to open up to people you don't know. And interestingly, the third thing I found that was an easy conversation starter and a point of sort of shared trauma, in a sense, was being a Warriors fan. Always a good diversion for kōrero, the good, the bad and the ugly of 30 years of following our useless team. So what was the point of gathering all of this information? There were many benefits to it. At an individual level, it gave voice to people who were sharing their story with another person, and a very different story to the story they would tell their lawyers, their official lawyers, or the probation officer. Probation officers have also been able to present this information, but they tend not to have the same means of connecting with our own whānau. Lawyers they're on the legal aid clock, so they'll do what's required often and not much more. They also ask different questions. And many of the people I would speak to disclosed their horrifying childhood, their experiences, the kinds of experiences that are well documented in the Royal Commission. And many of those stories had never been shared before. And often I would ask, why? Why have you never told anybody about this? And the number one reason was no one had asked. No one had asked. So people often miss the connection. The other interesting thing, people often miss the connection between what had happened to them and how they had in turn caused harm and hurt to themselves and others. I can't tell you how many times I would talk to someone and they would literally all use the same phrase, oh, I'm the black sheep in my family. I'm like, oh, are you? And I would say, is that right? Has no one else in your whānau been to prison then? Oh, yeah. Who? Oh, my father, my grandfather, my brothers, my uncles, my cousins. I'm like, that's a lot of black sheep. That's a lot of black sheep. And it was astonishing to see the penny drop for a lot of people who have drunk the Kool-Aid of individual agency and responsibility, when they have actually made very limited choices and very restricted lives in that backdrop of collective and intergenerational trauma, dispossession, poverty, and harm to the spirit, harm to the wairua. So that speaks to how effective the colonial project has been, that they truly believed that they are the people individually, solely individually, to blame for what they've done. Within a year or so, I could have written a paint-by-numbers cultural report. They were all the same, sadly. Grinding intergenerational poverty, particularly since Rogernomics reforms, ongoing family violence, disconnection from school by age 13. I think of the hundreds of reports I did, I met one guy who lasted beyond term 2 in form 3, year 9 for people younger than me. One. Everybody dropped out of school in that disjuncture between generally primary school and intermediate, or intermediate and high school. Problematic alcohol and drug use around the same age, no history of employment. Notwithstanding all of those similarities, each story also provides details of a very individual life. And I would always open up, other than talking about the Warriors, with tell me the story of your name. Tell me the story of your name. Same icebreaker I use with university students. Every human being has a name story. Who are you named for? Why were you named that? And inmates are, of course, no different. Whether they are named for a Los Angeles rapper I've never heard of, a brand of high-performance car, or a tupuna. Everybody has a name story. So it's always a good way of opening up that kōrero. The information inmates would share with me was presented to judges at sentencing, generally with a view to explaining how this person came to be the person they are standing before them, but also what options might be available in appropriately responding to their wrongdoing. So the law does allow for consideration of how an offender's community might be engaged to assist. The most common story, though, was about disconnection, lack of support, lack of resources. So this process was about connecting people to kaupapa whānau, people that were there, not necessarily blood relatives to draw upon. Well, I'll tell the story of one particular young man whose story really affected me deeply. I met him in Pāremoremo. He was on SEG, facing a third strike, in a potential life sentence without parole, and he was 23 years old. He was raised in Kaikoe, so in my hood, amidst eye-watering violence and deprivation. And he entered that well-worn path towards gang, drugs and serious offending at a very, very young age. He had, and this is astonishing too, is one thing to talk about people living away from their tribal rohe, but when you live in it and you still don't know who you are, that was this young man's experience. So he was born and raised in Kaikoe. He was he tama ngāpuhi, but he did not know anything about what that meant. I found him really easy to talk to. I quickly established that his nan, unsurprisingly, was his place and person of safety. When I asked him what his nan would think about his moko kanohi, his gang tattoos on his face, he went silent. And I carefully navigated our kōrero towards asking about his connections to wider whānau, his marae and community, and he conceded he didn't know, but he wanted to learn. And then he said after a couple of hours, I've got something I want to show you, Whaia, in my cell. And I couldn't go to his cell then, because obviously we're in a meeting room, but I said I'd come back if he could arrange it. So I came back the next week. Hard to get in to see someone's cell in Parimoremo, but we did. I went to his cell, and the walls of his cell were covered with the Goldie and Lindauer portraits of rangatira that people had brought in and sent to him. And he said, this is my whānau, they're keeping me safe, they're watching over me. And he wanted to figure out which ones he was related to. He had no idea, but that was a really moving experience. A week later, I attended his sentencing in the High Court. It was important because it was one of the very first cases involving a potential third strike. He told me that his nan was going to come, and I assured him that I'd be there too. When he was brought in by the guards, he was brought into the court, and he saw that his nan wasn't there, and I was the only person in the courtroom other than the guards and the judge. His whakamā and shame was immediate. He completely shut down and he lashed out. He smashed the perspex wall, he punched the guards, and he refused to look at me. The judge was extremely thorough with my report and asked several questions. This young man was incredibly tense and defiant as the story of his life was shared in open court. He was incredibly vulnerable. The judge, to his credit, didn't apply the third strike and gave him a long but finite sentence. When the young man was taken to the cells, the judge asked everyone except me to leave, just him and I in the courtroom. When it was just me and the judge broke down in tears and said, for this young man, he broke down in tears and he said, I'm crying for that young man, for what he has endured, what he has survived, the harm he has caused others. And also he said, I'm crying for myself for bearing the weight of responsibility of how to respond to that. And he knew that he would face significant backlash for the decision that he'd made. That was a really unusual encounter, and it changed the treatment and outcome for this young man because we'd shared his story, and it built an empathy bridge with this decision maker. Within 3 or so years, the cultural report kaupapa spread throughout the system, so there were floods of requests for assistance and a growing body of jurisprudence or case law using that information to inform sentencing decisions, businesses that people set up to write these reports. So it was incredibly successful in shifting that narrative of individual responsibility to place the harm caused by offenders into that context of collective and intergenerational trauma caused by invasion, dispossession, and the suppression of te reo me ngā tikanga Māori. It was so successful, of course, that this government decided to pull all the money that they allowed people to tap into. But I hope that we'd had such a run-in to that point that after years of showcasing or showing people how to do that practice, that it has been modelled to whānau and communities that they can do it for themselves, outside of a state funding model. You don't need the state to do that. So we might call that work decolonisation and indigenisation. That sounds quite foreboding and difficult, which in some ways it is. I like the framing of, or the languaging of, reckoning and reimagining, wrestling with how things are, how they came to be like that, and dreaming of a different future. Well, I'm not afraid of the unapologetic language of racism, white supremacy and discrimination. Sometimes we have to re-language to allow others to join the conversation without unnecessary fear and anxiety, to allow others to listen and to learn from stories. I chaired the 3-year after another local kahununu legend, Matua Tā Kim Workman, the Understanding Policing Delivery project that concluded just over a year ago. Language was a huge roadblock for us. This was a piece of work that was to look at racism within the police, but the police wouldn't let us use the word racism. They didn't want it. They said it'd be too triggering. And it took us months and months to get to a point where we agreed to concede. You can use the language of systemic bias if you like. We know what you mean. It's racism. But, you know, we had to swallow that to move on with the work. It was frustrating, it was infuriating, and at the weekend, last weekend, I just happened to reread Oliver Sutherland's memoir of his work from the 1970s in Nelson, in the 1980s, in terms of advocating for access to justice in Auckland with the Accord group. And the frustrations were exactly the same 50 years ago. The fragility of the language of racism, ongoing theme, not much has changed in 50 years. So my friend Tracy McIntosh, a previous Unity Day speaker, has talked about embracing productive discomfort in these processes. You need to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, so long as it's focused on a hopeful and positive change. And our Pākehā friend, a former student, Dr. Max Harris, has also warned of the perils of slipping into white defensiveness when you're in that space, denying that racism exists, diverting attention to perceived deficits in Māori communities, demanding that Māori just move on and get over it, and that we live in a multicultural or global society, as if those things can't all be in the same place at the same time. Even when framed in language of structural or systemic bias, though, people still feel threatened. I'll finish by talking about the glimmers, celebrating the glimmers. We need to remember to celebrate the wins. Psychologists refer to glimmers as those micro moments of hope, joy, satisfaction and peace that stand in contrast to triggers. They're often small, they're often highly personal, as that encounter with Justice Jagos was. We need to celebrate those because much of our work doesn't pay off. You need to find those times where it's good to remind yourselves of that multi-generational journey, and that sometimes kaupapa may be revisited in time. Yesterday, Mark and I were talking about, 1986 was a seminal year in terms of the Roper report, He Whai Pānga Hau by Matua Moana, Puao Te Atatu, these seminal pieces of research that were not, their promise was not delivered, but they are still there and their time will come. So lots of things that I've been involved in have not landed. They've been upended due to political forces generally, or sometimes a lack of public support. I spent 2 years leading the campaign for drug law reform that saw cannabis referendum really narrowly defeated. A year ago, this government voted down another piece of law reform I'd worked on for 18 months, the drafting of the first treaty clause in the Corrections Act, one of the first things that they got rid of when they came to government. And last year, we saw the government tip over 3 years of work that we had been doing to formally embed tikanga Māori in legal education. It's disappointing and demoralising when those things happen. The police sort of quickly withdrew their leadership and support on that Understanding Policing Delivery project, and the shift in commissioner meant that the government saw that priorities were going to change, and our work was quite quickly sidelined into the woke basket. But it's still there. Good work will see the light in time. So for the past 3 years, we've really walked through te pō, through the darkness, but we've experienced a few glimmers, and those moments serve to remind us to carry on, to savour a job well done, and to keep going. Arguably, I'll say my relation, David Seymour, has done more for the unification and galvanisation of iwi Māori than anybody in recent memory. So the glimmer of seeing tens of thousands of ordinary people take to the street and protest under the guise of Toi Tiriti. Hundreds of thousands of people learning to make select committee submissions in response to the Treaty Principles Bill and then other pieces of legislation. My son Levi's 23, he's in this hardcore West Auckland kapahaka, Te Tahatū. They're a Maurako group, they're pretty different, hard out, full of tough tāne Māori, many of whom have lived experience of prison. We've got a group that have come from the Grace Foundation. Most of those men wouldn't have known what a select committee was, they wouldn't know a submission if they fell over it. But one of their noho last year, we held a workshop on how to make submissions, and these men picked up pens for the first time, and some of them I think forever, and learnt how to make submissions and express their views. They then repeated it in relation to the Regulatory Standards Bill. Many of them then enrolled to vote for the first time. Now, these men, they're not prisoners now, but they express the fact that they don't think they have skin in the game. They feel excluded. They have their own sort of community that exists alongside general society. Another glimmer, of course, that I read about the reclamation of naming, the reclamation of the local name of the Clive River, to Ngāroro Moko Tū Araro ki Rangatira. That's a glimmer. That's the result of advocacy of years of work. I experienced a couple of glimmers recently. I spent New Year's Eve on Ripiro Beach, just out of Dargaville in our territory, with my partner and children. We were on the beach watching the sun set on 2025. It was absolutely beautiful. There was no one around. It was serene, silent and stunning. Then my daughters whispered, "Oh, there's a big black truck behind you, Mum, and there's a gangster in it." And we're a bit scared. There's a scary guy in that truck. And I turned around, the light was really fading, and I said, "Oh, kia ora," into the dimly lit cab of this truck. And then this deep voice called out, "Is that you, Whaia Khylee?" I said, "Yep." And he goes, "Oh, you won't remember me, but you came to see me in Pāremoremo 6 years ago. I just wanted to let you know I'm doing well. I've been out for 2 years. I have a whare, I have a job. This is my partner, she's having our baby. And we've come up north to find my whānau. I just thought I want to say hello." That made my day. What a way to end the year. Shortly before that, I'd finished up a difficult year of teaching. So we have been working towards decolonising legal education, embedding tikanga Māori and te ao Māori teaching and learning into law degrees. For me, one of the objectives of that project is to ensure that all lawyers, no matter where you come from, what you look like, have some basic knowledge of who we are, our ways of knowing and being and doing, so they can better represent Māori in legal matters. So you wouldn't necessarily need independent report writers or navigators. So again, that was a long-planned strategic campaign by us academics, judges and lawyers working together. Last year was D-Day, our first go at rolling out this new curriculum. In my kura, in my school, that meant me being first out of the blocks. I'd never taught first-year law before. Wow, that was different. But my goal was, I want, for these people who are going to be lawyers, I want the first voice they hear to be from he tangata Māori. I want the first thing that they hear about to be about tikanga as first law of this country. Most people loved it. Most people loved it. We use pūrākau method. We take them on a hikoi around our campus so that they get to see and think about, view this whenua through the lens of being whenua Māori. Some people, though, didn't like it, and I knew that would be the case, and people started complaining. One particular student, though, expressed his absolute rage. And he followed me to my office and he was screaming in my face, "I did not pay good money to hear stories from you. I've come here to learn about the law." He was older, a police officer, recent migrant. I asked him to leave my office before I did something career limiting. I emailed him then to address my concerns. I received no reply and I didn't see him again. So I finished my quarter of the course and then I went to the very last lecture of the year in October. I came back for that lecture. It was a room of 300 tauira, and at the end of the class there was a very long line of students lining up to talk to me and the teaching team about how much they appreciated what they'd learnt over that year. There was after 20 minutes of that, there was one person left in the lecture theatre. I didn't recognise him, and I thought, "Oh, what's that fellow want?" And he comes down to the front, and it was that man, the police officer. I didn't recognise him. His entire ahua was different. The way you know what a cop looks like, he's sitting really stiff at the front, pick them out a mile away. He looked like an entirely different person. He was manifesting humility and embarrassment, and he nervously told me, "I wanted to be the last person here to tell you that I'm here to apologise for my attitude and behaviour 8 months earlier. My life has been changed by learning about the foundations of tikanga Māori and the destruction and despair caused by the imposition of the colonial settler state and its ongoing influence." I was speechless. I then heard from 2 former students who work for him. He's a police prosecutor in West Auckland. And these 2 students got in contact to say, "Man, what did you do? This dude is a different person." And it's reflected, most importantly, it's changed the way that he does his job. It's reflected in the decisions that he makes, his conduct towards whānau Māori he encounters in his work, and that goal of expanding the mind of one person with ripples affecting others within their sphere of influence. That was a really satisfying glimmer. The last glimmer I'll share, one of the privileges and responsibilities of being the boss is having control over hiring decisions. 3 years ago, I hired a former student who has lived experience of prison. He was still on parole conditions, and it was really hard to get my boss to sign off on his employment. But I was acutely aware that he would have trouble finding any employment. The nature of his offending meant he would never ever be able to practice law. But he could teach it, and he's a fantastic teacher. So my university brands itself as the University of Opportunity. So I said that to the Vice-Chancellor, I said that to the Chancellor. This is our opportunity to take a risk and show that we did believe in second chances and that arc of redemption. So we got there, and it was our opportunity to disrupt the invisible sentence that follows inmates into their lives after prison. Poor mental health, insecure housing and employment. A life of precarity and instability. And having this colleague on staff has enabled the sharing of his story with our students, most of whom have never met a former inmate before. And so they have learnt empathy and aroha as a result. He's an excellent student and is now enrolled in a PhD. So I'll end my kōrero with a final anecdote about the power of transforming communities. This year at my university we're piloting a new course called Uni 101 for students who are first in family to attend university. They're all from Māori, Pasifika and migrant communities. They have no point of reference as to how to do university. A couple of weeks ago, we invited Judge Noel Cocarillo to address them. He shares his story about being a Māori Italian boy from Dargaville. He moved to Otago to study, practiced law for 30 years and became a judge. But his advice to them as they entered this really new thing that they know nothing about, I thought was really simple and effective. He said, if you want something you've never had before, you're going to have to do things you've never done. So if we circle back to our crayfish, again, it's the same advice, calling for action over dreaming. Action over dreaming. Kia ora koutou mō tō koutou whakarongo mai. Kia ora.
Kia ora whā. Kia ora whā, thank you for your kōrero. So we have a bit of a time for a bit of a Q&A. So we're going to have an open floor for any pātai for whā. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
First of all, I'd just like to comment on your wonderful kōrero. I've managed to learn a lot from there. Kia ora. Question that I have is that as manuhiri, as Tangata Tiriti, what do you have to say to us to live alongside Tangata Whenua and uphold our duties as Tangata Tiriti? What do you suggest that we should be upholding? What should we be practicing to properly fulfill our roles as Tangata Tiriti? Kia ora.
Kia ora, pai tō pātai. Good question. I think my core advice there is what I've said about being open to hearing stories and histories that you may find uncomfortable or challenging, and just sit with it. Like I said, you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to have any particular opinion on it, but you do need to know stuff. So to not be ignorant is the key thing, and to allow other people to share their story and to figure out what can you do. I went to a conference, the conference I went to in Vancouver was about trauma and being trauma-informed practitioners. It was very interesting that I thought there was a big error, I thought, on the part of the organisers, was that they didn't differentiate between people who have lived experience and people that don't. But I think that's really important, because you can do things as from that different space that people with lived experience can't. So that's, again, going back to that point about acknowledging that we're not the same. And so being comfortable with who you are, sharing and being open and vulnerable about, the ability to listen, and then to offer what you might be able to offer from your knowledge base. Yeah. Kia ora. Down the back. Kia ora.
Kia ora Khylee, ko Maria Roberts aho. I've got sort of a big picture question. I saw a TV interview and another lawyer, Tania Waikato, talking about constitutional transformation. Where does that fit within abolition and, you know, moving on from prisons to a different system?
Yeah, that's a big question.
So in 25 words or less. No,
one question might be, could we have prison abolition without constitutional transformation? I think we can. So I don't think they necessarily conflate with one another. And we've seen, I mean, I personally think that the justice reinvestment strategy is quite a conservative way of, in terms of a policy strategy, to say we spend this much on corrections, we could spend that money over here. I mean, that's sort of a soft way of saying, you know, maybe there are different ways of doing it. So that's quite a good compromise, though, but I do think it's quite a soft thing. That doesn't require constitutional transformation. Constitutional transformation would obviously be much bigger, because one of the things, there's a difference between, and one of the things I didn't get into, there's a difference between not having prisons and doing things differently that is inclusive of te ao Māori perspectives, you know. So that would be, how do we respond to harm? How do we protect people? One of the other stories I read recently from these old cases I've been looking at was, particularly ones around Porirua, the first sort of sets of courts, was one chief turns up from Porirua to watch a magistrate's hearing, and he's confused because he said, I don't understand how this happened. I know my people. So I know who they are, what kind of activities they get. But that's all he said. But that said everything. Like, he should be connected. How did this happen? Something's fallen over here. So that requires constitutional transformation, the acknowledgement of different ways of responding. That's more than just divert prison money into health, housing and education. That's a whole worldview difference. So I think that would be the benefit of doing that. Found it really ironic. One of the other things that I thought I was quite disappointed at work streams that I was involved in was the Hōkairangi strategy for corrections 6 years ago or so. And interestingly, and again, my whanaunga, Kelvin Davis was the minister at that time, and he thought it was a cool thing to make that the matua, the overall strategy for corrections, rather than the Māori strategy. And I totally resisted that. I thought, why would you want to do that? Just because there's lots of us there doesn't mean we want this thing, the overall. Yeah, I thought that was a mistake to make the Māori strategy correction strategy, because that normalises imprisonment for Māori. So, yeah, I think people need to think quite carefully about what kind of system are you buying into with your dreaming or strategy. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. And Kelvin Davis was a speaker at one of these.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so kapai, thank you.
All right, everyone else is happy.
I've seen documentaries about prisons, in inverted commas, in Denmark.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and other people here would have done that too, where behind the high fence, instead of cells, are houses. Mm-hmm. And the houses are where the interned live with their families, and the outcomes of that have been amazing. And my question is, at higher levels of decision making, is there any interest in that as a model that we could look at here?
Good question. The short answer is not that I'm aware of. Although, to be honest, I haven't been invited to much in the last 3 years, unsurprisingly. But you do raise an interesting point, which is particularly the Scandinavian model of imprisonment, of doing prison differently, or doing rehabilitation and reintegration differently. Obviously better, but not best, is my personal view of that. The other thing I would say is in recent years, particularly since the migration of different peoples around Europe and particularly in Scandinavia, is that those things seemed to work well when they were largely homogenous, when they were homogenous societies where you were dealing with Swedish people, Danish people, Finnish people. with the influx of migrants from other parts of Europe, where people, again, do not have the same skin in the game in their society, they've been less effective. I think that's because they've tended to come from more deprived communities, different pathways to prison and different pathways out. So I've often wondered whether or not the success of their system is predicated on a stronger social cohesion outside of prison, so a different community that is now not really the same. One of the things that occurred in Canada when I was there last week was the opening of yet another sort of alternative, different kind of prison. They have a couple of healing lodges for, framed around Indigenous ways of responding to harm. Again, better than prison, but you're still not allowed out. It's a different sort of rehabilitative framework and better support for people for their post, carceral life. So it's a spectrum, as we expect, of responses.
I have a pātai, or more, I guess, an acknowledgement first and foremost to your mahi for our people. You spoke about a multitude of different things and the impact. I think we've all seen firsthand some of those impacts or the outcomes. So thank you. I actually worked with Papa Tom under Kaupapa Māori Pathways in Kururangi, and so I was one of his cultural report writers here in Hawke's Bay Regional Prison. And so getting to see and do this mahi firsthand and hearing what you're talking about, I think being able to hear that openly and here, if we haven't heard it or seen it firsthand, there are so many values that come from that. I guess my question to you is, we have our rangatahi court, our kōti Māori. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are, how you've seen them developing, tracking, and if there are things that we could be doing better in those spaces.
Kia ora, tēnā koe. Well, Matua Moana observed something in 1986, 1987 through her whaipaanga hau. And one of the things he said in that report was, be very careful in dealing with rangatahi Māori, but specifically, when you make their first encounter with the marae, with kaumātua, with koraua, in a formal justice setting like that. And I think he was absolutely right. So be careful. So I am, because you can see it's not, one of the interesting things generally, again, it's better than the alternative. But when you're dealing with people that have tenuous connections, it can be very damaging for them to have, I'll say it, and I've got in trouble for this before, Pākehā judges that we have that speak reo that they don't have, that have, engaged in cultural competence and training that these children don't have access to. That makes those people feel terrible. So I think you need to tread that path really carefully. I think the judges are better aware of that than they were when they started. But it was very interesting. So they've only done one formal evaluation of Te Kōti Rangatahi, and that was done 2008. And one of the interesting comparators from the data they received was that there was higher engagement from whānau with Te Kōti Rangatahi than the alternative, going to youth court. But when you drill down, and you think, oh, that's great, but when you drill down, it was fear of those whānau of being judged by their own, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but much higher engagement of fathers, which is interesting. But then when you ask the children, the young people, if you had to come back to court again, and many of them will, if you had to go, would you choose Te Kōti Rangatahi or would you go youth court? And the overwhelming majority said, I'll go youth court, much easier. So that's probably that's a tick, saying, oh, that's pretty effective if they felt more responsible or, that it made an impact on them. Yes, I do think we need another evaluation because it has been a long time since then and they've changed practice a little bit. But yeah, I'm a little bit wary, as I am of the community iwi panels. being a net widening way of bringing in more people, when you could just say, we don't need to respond to you at all. We particularly see that in the iwi panels of young people brought in when they don't need to be. If you were not Māori, you would just get a warning and off you go. So I'm wary. I'm not not an acolyte necessarily.
Tēnā koe, Khylee. Ko matiu eru taku enua. No kaununu nei, no tūhoe, me te arawa ne.
Tēnā koe.
Ko taku pātai ki a koe. Do you use tapu and noa in your, especially relating to our, because to me, our different roots mean noa or tapu. And what is tapu to our people? And what is noa? You know, a lot of our people, they've forgotten how to be Māori. And that's the problem. Ne? Ko whai rātai nā ture Pākehā, me we rāhua. They've forgotten how to be Māori. How do you deal with that?
Good question. In the story you tell, you can convey that. In my personal practice, it's important in terms of keeping myself safe, in terms of, personally, Dame Nader gave me karakia to deal with the heaviness of the kōrero that you feel, so she, in her special way, go to the car park afterwards and just say this and then get rid of it, don't carry that home. Keep yourself, tapu, keep your own personal tapu. But in relation to the people you're dealing with, yes, they have forgotten. Although I think it's forgotten, but it's intrinsic. So I think bringing it to the surface of their understanding, and that should be the role of of particularly others in terms of the services and connection to community. It's astonishing that people, when they tell you their names, they know where they come from, but they don't have that actual connection.
All right, well, kia ora te whānau. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions. But that was such a cool kōrero. Kia ora kia koe, te rangatira. Yeah, that was cool. And on behalf of Pilot City Trust and everyone here, we actually have a koha for you. We heard that you read it online, so here is a physical copy of late Pat McGill's.
We now return to the Transforming Community series. Next up, we would like to invite up Whatever It Takes, Trust and Ahuru Moa. Kia ora.
Kia ora nā koutou katoa toa, ko tamuera ai ta māparama tōku ingoa, ko kuki ara ni tōku iwi, arorangi te hapu, te riua te maunga, rongo te awa, CEO, whatever it takes, te mahi, ko Sam, ahau.
Kia ora te whānau, ko ai au, ko taratara te maunga, ko o Tangaro te moana, ko mamari te waka, ko kahukura ki te whare tūpuna, ko Ngāti Kau ki whangaroa te iwi, ko Huia Robson tōku ingoa. E mahi ana hau hei pauwhakahaere ki Ahuri Mōwai. Kia ora.
Tēnā tātou katoa. He mana whenua hau, ko Susie Hiha tōku ingoa, he Chief People and Culture Officer. Tēnā.
What a beautiful, well, it's pretty hard coming in the tail end of that kōrero far out, but we'll do our best. Just acknowledging Matu, our matua Matu Iru, a true taonga to Te Mātua Māui. Very proud of him. Our mana whenua, Toi Matarua MCs, the amazing mahi that you all do. You guys rock. Pilot City Trust, Mark, Alwyn, who's not here, and the team. And our we must remember our rangatira Pat McGill, so just acknowledging that. The kaupapa here today is hugely acknowledged, and developing communities, not prisons, but just developing communities. I want to acknowledge our Board of Trustees who are sitting at the table there. 5 of them have come along. I just want to, Kevin Sneeze, our chair, I just want to acknowledge the huge social lens that each of you bring our organisation. Your lawyers, your doctors, your chartered accountant, your everything. Chief nurse at the hospital, and a couple of wahine toa Māori, Cherie's here today, and that have come on and really brought some diversity to our whole organisation and our board. So I just want to acknowledge that, and our senior leadership team members that are here today. Our ahuru mōai whānau over the back there. You guys are the magic. You guys are walking. You're on your recovery journey, and you are stepping up and amazing. So, but we'll talk to you more about that shortly. And of course, everyone in the room. It's amazing to hear our rangatahi get up and pose those questions. You are all the leaders of the future. And I just want to acknowledge you and everyone else for all the mahi you do in developing our communities here in Te Mātua Māui. My name's Sam Abrahama. I'm the CEO for Whatever It Takes Trust. Born in Hastings, grew up in a household of severe family violence, kicked out of home as a teenager, got really lost, got lost in school, failing everything. Then the principal took me into his office one day after I'd been caned, and he said to me, "Sam, I believe in you. Do you believe in you?" That turned my world around. When I pick up on fire here in the Her Kōrero, it is those moments. It is those, he believed in me. I didn't have that belief for my father. So that turned my world around. I joined police, worked South Auckland, came down to Hawke's Bay, and then went up the coast to Tairawhiti. 12 very challenging communities up in Tairawhiti, and the police didn't have a relationship with them. So my job was to go out into the communities and work and build those relationships. Because, why? Because more often than not, the answers are in the communities. You just got to be open-minded to going and having those conversations. Because once you get through all the rarus that you're challenged with as a pirihimana, they actually do want a relationship with their pirihimana. And that was my job for a number of years up in Tairawhiti. But all good things come to an end, and my mum told me to come home. She's 91, living in Camberley, our home over there. And she said, "It's time for you to come home, my son. You've got mokos, you've got tamariki here." So home I came, and I saw this job advertised, Whatever It Takes Trust, and the mission was walking with whānau to wellness. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. What does that mean? So I went researching into what that actually meant, and it just gave me, this is my job, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do, because I'd learnt so much from the communities up in the Tairāwhiti, coming home to Hawke's Bay, was me leaning in and using my skills, knowledge and experience to help out. So very, very proud to I've been in the role 14 months, and I'm blessed to work alongside these wahine toa that are just awesomeness that they bring to not only our organisation but to our community. So just acknowledging you two, Susie and Huia. Whatever It Takes Trust is a... we support we work with whānau around mental health and addictions. So we provide peer support, we provide advocacy, we provide a residential, coming from Ngā Raurako, the mental health inpatient unit, we provide residential support, we provide housing. So there's a number of areas that we work in alongside whānau experiencing mental health and addictions on their journey to wellness. Wellness is independence. Independence is what you want that to be, whether that be living in a whare, getting back into the workforce, getting back into education. It will be what you want, reconnecting with your whānau, reconnecting with your community. Whatever you want that to be, your wellness plan will exhibit that. And our journey is to walk alongside you and support you. And I just want to again acknowledge our whānau ahuru mōwai at the back there. We'll just show a 2-minute video next, which will just give you a bit of insight into, we have 90 staff, we have a 90% lived experience in our staff. They've all once been dependent to varying levels, but now are transformational, made huge transformational change and are leaning in and helping whānau in need. So we'll play that next, please.
I'm a recovering addict, and so to give back to my community, that was my why. Hey! Picking up my guys, getting them to their programs.
Okay. Awesome, Patrick. Yeah. See you soon, bro.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
I ended up in jail, on and off, probably around 10 years. When you go through something and you know you've done it wrong, then you've got to learn to do it right, especially when it comes to A&D. Being there, done that. And I say that a lot to our whānau. We can keep them and get them into a good frame of mind, slowly off drugs.
So we're working with whānau, some of whom have been homeless for up to 10 years. Our staff are amazing. A majority of them have come from lived experience and have turned their lives around.
Because I've been on the other side, eh? I know what it's like not to be heard. I know what it's like not to be supported. I've always been a big fan of betting for the underdog. Just seeing them move into the community, that's what it's all about, you know.
So I was on a downhill path, whatever it takes. They've given me the tools to keep myself on a straight and narrow.
So we are seeing people with complex mental health and coexisting addiction issues, because we want people to gain independence, and we're all about recovery. So our mission statement is walking with whānau to wellness and without judgment.
I go, well, if we don't help them, who is? I mean, and sometimes there's no one else, so.
I'm just going to hand over to Susie shortly. So building relationships is a big part of who we are, being more intentional around being collaborative throughout the community. There's a number of NGOs and services working in the community that have the skills, and a number of them are here today. and it's about how we can collectively work together to maximise the resources that we have to support our whānau on their recovery journey. I'll just pass it over to Susie.
Kia ora. I just wanted to probably more, it's a reflection of what Khylee had shared around how we employ or how we recruit our whānau. We have 93% of our whānau acknowledge themselves as having lived experience, and we're so proud of that. It's a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong, it comes with its challenges, but that's the normal, that's just how we are as human, as whānau. But the core thing is that they've done their recovery journey, and they were always recovering. They've come from prison, they've come from the traumas of what's happened to them in state care and so on and so on. But they're here, they're stepping up for other whānau that need that support. And so for whatever it takes trust, we're very proud to be able to recruit in these positions that help our whānau. And 60% of them are Māori, 4% are Pacific Island. So 60% of our whānau are doing well in that space. And again, we're so proud of that. Kia ora.
Did they do a video for you? Kia ora whānau. I'm here to talk about Ahuru Mōwai. Ahuru Mōwai was created as a response to chronic homelessness in Napier, and it's a safe place, a safe, calm place to rest for tāne. And I think I need to talk about the shelter in itself, that kupu in itself. It's not a first in, first serve whare, so it's a program. It's a program to support whānau who want to put their hand up for support. Initially we thought a 12-week program, but you just don't get a whare that quick. So it was about a moment in time for whānau to feel safe and rest and get those basic needs, because that's when the healing starts, and that's when our whānau can start to be more connected to their community. We're seeing real transitions into independent living, whānau moving from crisis to stability, from isolation to connection. This is not just a shelter, this is a pathway where whānau become whānau pounamu. There are whānau who live in the whare and move towards taking steps toward their own healing through whānau pautama, our whānau who move from the whare into our community. Strong partnerships with iwi, Moving Forward, Trinity Church, Manawa Ora, MSD, health providers and community groups are helping wrap a korowai of support around each tāne. Our model is low barrier, high connection, meeting people where they are at, not where systems expect them to be. We continue to see increased need, especially for rangatahi, wahine and tāne experiencing disconnection and housing instability. Ahuru Mōwai is contributing to a community-wide response, not working alone, but alongside others to create lasting change. How do we awhi whānau in the whare? We start with the basics, a warm bed, kai, safety and rest, because healing begins when people feel safe. We build routine and consistency, simple daily rhythms that bring stability back to life. We prioritise trust and relationships, taking time to listen, sit and walk alongside whānau. We support growth through connection, accountability and aroha, learning to care for self and others. In this space, whānau begin to love, help, share, learn and grow together. Community longing to belonging. 28 whānau have come through our doors, 12 now independent or unstable living. What we are seeing is a shift from community longing to community belonging, from being unseen to being known, connected and valued. From surviving to belonging. This is what it looks like when a community stands together, whānau finding connection, purpose and strength, moving from surviving to belonging and stepping into independent living with dignity and hope. Change happens when people are heard enough, they have to. When they've seen enough, they're inspired to. When they've learned enough, they want to. When they receive enough, they're able to. Kia ora whānau.
We had 3 deaths on our streets 2 years ago, and last year the Napier Ahurere Night Shelter Society was formed. And could I just ask for those that are on, we are led by Mark Khylee, could I ask that those are on that committee to stand up, please? Yeah. Yeah. So, Sally's here, yeah. So these are the ones, Shai, Raihania, yeah. So these are the ones that, and there's others that aren't here, that came together, a group of professionals, very smart people, but with a huge social lens, and we came together and we said, no one else is going to die on our streets, and the whare was. And we've had the big steal and borrow to keep it running for the last 12 months, and we've got there. And I think Hui has shared with you, what the amazingness that's come out of that. But the journey is long and ongoing, so we will continue. So just thank you very much, everyone, and love te matua Māori, machu met, and kia ora.
Thank you, guys. What an important kaupapa that was, eh? At this time, we would like to acknowledge and pay tribute to 3 special individuals. They have contributed deeply to our communities.
To present these, we would like to invite up Sue Kururangi, Kiri Kitioni, and the Duncan whānau. Yes. I won't give them the pen.
Kia ora everybody. My name is Sue Kururangi, and this is my mokopuna honey. I have my brother-in-law Thomas, Mark's brother, who has come today to tautoko our Kururangi whānau and Thomas's brother Mark. Thank you for giving our whānau the opportunity to honour my husband Mark Kururangi for his service to the community. Mark passed away the 12th of July 2025. When I was asked to write a few words about Mark, Jess McGill told me I could write around 450 words. And then she texts me later and says, oh, hang on, due to time, you can only write 250 words. I thought, wow, how on earth am I going to write 250 words and cover all Mark's achievements? Then I thought I could list all the things Mark achieved, but how would that honour him? I'll be fast, Jess, wherever you are. Sorry, might be a little bit over time, but I'll talk really fast. Mark was the eldest of 8 brothers. His parents were Maaki and Nancy Kururangi. Mark and I were married for 45 years. We have 2 children, Mark and Summer. We have been blessed with 9 mokopuna. In In 1998, Mark and I moved to Australia to experience something new, and it was great. And we returned in December 2021. In 1992, Mark was awarded the Napier Pilot City Trust Award in recognition for his outstanding contribution to the community. Mark's commitment to help others began long before then. His community work began in 1979 at 22 years old, working as a youth worker at the Napier YMCA. It was humble beginnings, but Mark had a clear vision to create opportunities and support for rangatahi. The vision grew into a lifelong journey, and he dedicated his life to work alongside whānau, communities, rangatahi, government departments, and anyone willing to make a difference. The downtown Y in the early 1970s was a place for young people, and it was there that Mark met Pat McGill and Wally Hunt. They were two passionate community workers who were looking for a young Māori to join their dream to uplift the youth in Napier. The foundations of community work in those days weren't about degrees, Teams online, mobile phones, and texts. It was completely the opposite. An organisation Mark managed was the Contact Centre for the Unemployed in the 1980s for 10 years. The windows of the building weren't blocked with advertising so you couldn't see inside. Whānau just wanted to come through your doors, sit down and have a kōrero. Most times whānau didn't really know what they needed, but they knew it was a place where they could come and feel at home and just have a chat. You didn't need an appointment or be referred or wait for 2 weeks to see someone. You just turned up, and that was how Mark did things, and it worked. Mark worked with great people like Pat McGill, Wally Hunt, Jim Moranga, Stuart Milner, Maud Opatini, John Bashara, Whare Tirakia, Dan Wakefield, Julian Lawrence, Alison Bullock, Pam Thorburn, Janice Roxburgh, to name a few. They were movers and shakers. They got things done. Their services stretched from social welfare, probation, internal affairs, the Napier YMCA, Te Rōpua Iwi, and youth-operated services in the community. With little resources and never any money, it never stopped their drive, their passion to work together for our community in Napier. In 1987, Mark was instrumental in establishing the Napier Cadet Academy, an army-style program at the old Francis House in Estelle for youth at risk, and then later in 1992, him and a great team of community workers established the first Walk for Unity. Recently, it was suggested to me that maybe Mark's lifelong community work would be suitable for the Knowledge Bank. I thought, that would be good. At least I could write as many words as I pleased. Our son texted me when I asked him about the idea of sharing Mark's community life on the Knowledge Bank. He said, Dad was really one of a kind. You either have it or you don't. Dad's interpersonal skills can't be learnt from a book, he said. You're either born with it or not. He could have done a TED talk without no notes, young Mark said. And that was Mark. He had confidence, a wide knowledge base of many subjects. His humour was worse than a comedian, and he could relate to all groups of people, Māori, Pākehā, Labour politicians, and national ones too, city councillors, rangatahi, and the man on the street. Mark believed in change with a strong vision of progress and community development, especially for Marae Nui. In 2023, Mark revived and strengthened the community interest with Christmas in the Park in Maraenui. Then in the same year, he organised a disaster and emergency hui to support the community after Cyclone Gabrielle. Mark's contribution to community service grew from simple foundations with great mentors who helped shape who he was, how he did things, and who he became in our community. One of the most important people in Mark's life was Pat McGill, his mentor, friend, and lifelong partner who both shared the same dream to strive for inclusiveness, social justice, and making Napier a kinder place for the man on the street. Congratulations to the up-and-coming recipients of today. Community work can be really tough and sometimes thankless, but you are all here today for a reason. During Easter this year, I unveiled Mark, and on his headstone, I included a special tribute to which says, an inspiration in our community who dedicated his life to make a difference. So on behalf of myself, our children, Mark and I's children, our mokopuna and the Kururangi whānau, thank you for giving us the opportunity to honour Mark today. Kia ora.
My time with Pat spanned over from 1970 to the day he passed. Even though I spent 20 years in Australia, he would always phone me and let me know what was going on in the Nui and to a further extent Ahuriri. So it was as if I lived in Australia and I never left the Nui.
So that's, all right. Mōrena e te whānau, ko keri ki te one toko ingoa. This is about Roger McNeill, who was a trustee. Roger McNeill passed away on May the 18th last year. He was one of Pilot City Trust's staunchest supporters. He became a trustee in the early 1990s and walked alongside Pat McGill and fellow trustees for many years. Warm-hearted, wise, deeply kind, Roger was dedicated to helping others, especially those less fortunate than himself. He held a Master of Honours in Social Services and a Diploma in Human Resource Management. He was community-focused, serving as a skilled facilitator and mentor. In 1991, Rogers established his own Te Whakarito Reto Trust, Warming Hearts, Inspiring Minds, that supported young people and educators through mentoring creative school-based programs such as gardening, kapahaka, Pacifica and visual arts. In 2012, Roger and I, also a Pilot City trustee then, wrote a book entitled Listening to Voices in 4 Hawke's Bay Schools, Transformative Values in Cultural Context. The genesis of the idea came from a Napier Pilot City trustee community meeting where Dennis O'Reilly spoke about the expulsion of children from schools where a high proportion of Maori students were stood down. Miriana Pittman was also at that meeting. The genesis of the idea came from the Napier Pilot City Trust community meeting. Oh, I've just read that bit, sorry. Roger and I chose 4 schools where their philosophies were using positive cultural practices, behaviour plans that worked, and restorative practices. The book was transported and distributed to Hawke's Bay schools. Roger never gave up on anything he believed in, and despite being very ill, attended last year's Unity Day just weeks before he died. This might surprise many people here. Roger was also a marriage celebrant and a lay preacher. He officiated at Jan McGill's marriage to Derek Sullins at Eskdale Church during Art Deco weekend in 2004. The wedding guests dressed Art Deco style and the vibe was very festive, so Roger's unexpectedly fiery, old-style sermon made it one of the most entertaining services many had ever been to. And we have Jan, Pat McGill's daughter, and Derek here today, and Jesma as well. Stand up, you two. Jan and Derek here are visiting from Adelaide. Roger's counselling before your wedding certainly worked. Kia ora. And Jesma's here too. Where's Jesma? Oh, there she is, Jesma McGill as well. Yeah. Moi mai rā, Roger, e whā e te rangatira. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora everybody, my name's Troy Duncan. I'm here representing the Duncan whānau for Ross Duncan. My mother and brother are over there as well, Nori and Aaron. Ross, former trustee and chair of Napier Pollitt City Trust, had an extraordinary gift for nurturing young people's interests and connecting them with others. He always turned up with a smile on his face. He was positive and enthusiastic. He had wide networks and used them to connect people to make things happen. Ross and Pat met through YMCA in the 1950s, beginning a lifelong commitment to the organisation and a friendship that endured 60 years. While the Y promoted healthy mind, body and spirit, Ross believed the spiritual dimension deserved greater emphasis, and Pat agreed. They believed the Y's kaupapa should be lived out in action and offer a hand up to those excluded from the mainstream opportunities. Ross spent an impressive 60 years as a YMCA volunteer, having been involved with the organisation as a youth. In 1958, Ross received a scholarship to train at YMCA College in Australia and returned to lead the youth programs in Hastings and Aotearoa. He was a youth worker for YMCA in Hawke's Bay for 9 years before joining the board as a volunteer. A life member of Hawke's Bay YMCA, he has held posts on the national board and spent countless hours advocating for youth and the YMCA. Ross's efforts were also recognised with a National YMCA Presidential Award for Distinguished Service. He was a driving force behind such Hawke's Bay initiatives as the YMCA Farm Training Program, Camp Aotearoa, Hastings Sports Stadium and Michael's Place, a pub with no beer, and many more. As president of the Hastings Y in 1981, he led the purchase of 70 acres at Maraikakahu. The land was planted in fruit trees and horticultural courses for unemployed youth were established with government PEP scheme support. Under the guidance of Ray Whiteman, this practical experience shaped Ross's vision for skills-based community work. More than that, he liked his work, and when he and Nori married, they became orchardists, and Ross immersed himself in the horticulture and agricultural sectors through active membership in the Hawke's Bay AMP Society and Fruit Growers Association. Ross and Pat also led many walks and tramps and fundraised along the way. There were camps at Waikaremoana, Arapawanui, Hikoi across Ngāti Kanunu between Marae and the 5-day Taupo to Napier Walk. In later years, Ross and Nori's loyal support for Pat's Te Aroha offers hope Hikoi ensured many rangatahi experienced growing confidence, connection and inspiration along the way. Thank you.
As we continue with our kōrero about transformation, this time from Tangata Tiriti, Aotearoa, please welcome Neil Gordon.
Kia ora koutou, e hōmā. Ko Neil Gordon, tōku ingoa. Nō o tātara ahau. Kei ahuriri ahau, ino hoana. Hei tangata Tiriti ahau. This is the continuing story of tangata Tiriti Aotearoa and what we've been up to. That's the clicker. There, right. The term tangata Tiriti was coined at Waitangi in 1989 by Sir Eddie Jury, who pointed out that Pākehā and Tauiwi standing up for Tiriti weren't just standing up for the rights of Māori, they were standing up for their own rights to belong here. The treaty unites us all. 30 years later, in 2021, Dennis O'Reilly wanted to bring a group on to Waiahiki Marae for the Wharanui opening. It was a diverse group who'd been helping the marae over many years. Tangata Tiriti was chosen as a banner under which they could all unite. Since 2023, we've pushed the Tangata Tiriti Aotearoa boat out, holding hui, organising treaty workshops and lecture series and more. Our place is standing up for Tiriti, and thank you to the Napier Pilot City Trust for being such supportive allies. So we support and attend events like Waipiriku Waitangi Day, commemoration at Farndon Park, bringing resources to share, including information about Tiriti in 24 different languages. Much of 2025 was spent supporting the Māori Wards campaign run by 4 Wards Hawke's Bay. We chose magpie-style black and white for our branding, but what really took off were the big aroha for Māori Wards hearts. My wife Laura and I were hand-cutting and painting them at home, but when we got an order for about 500, Laura spat the dummy and said we'd have to have them commercially printed. It went bananas. If Craig Little is interested in woke flood events, it doesn't get much more woke than what Hawke's Bay today called a tsunami of aroha for Māori Wards. 1,000 signs went up around the region and many more shared with groups nationwide. It went really bananas. People danced with them, they skied with them, they ran, they slid, they swam with them. I'd just sit on my sofa and these videos and images would just arrive. There were massive digital billboards in Hastings and Napier. Māori Wards, hell yeah! At Awatoto, there was this giant 6-metre wide beauty. There were public meetings, news stories, social media out the door, door knocking, hikoi, about 1,500 badges, marae open days, you name it, we tried it. And yet in Hawke's Bay, the referendum didn't go our way, or did they to some degree? Nationwide, more people voted to keep Māori Wards than to remove them. It was 54 to 46. And even more encouraging is what these results show over time. The results saw a 27.5% swing toward Māori Wards when compared with previous polls. And that rings true in places like Taranaki and Hawke's Bay, which have gone from 70 to 80% opposed to only 55% opposed. It's a really significant shift. And it's worth remembering whose votes it is we're talking about. Only about 40% of people vote in council elections, and those that do tend to be older and better off. The people who vote every chance they get are a bit like me, older, crusty Pākehā. So the fact that support for Māori Wards among this demographic sits at around 54% shows how much the dial has shifted in recent years. We're on the right track, and there's no turning us around. So that's Tangata Tiriti Aotearoa. If you're interested, you can follow our Facebook page and you can sign up for our occasional newsletters. Kia ora.
Hey, all right, e te whānau. I think it's time for a well-earned break. We will offer karakia and then please enjoy some morning tea and connect with each other. And we'll reconvene at 11:35 sharp. And during the break, there will be a short video about about ahuru mowai. Ka pai? Cool. Karakia.
Karakia tātou. Whakapaina ina kai he oranga mō mātou, tinana mō mātou, wari o ki amini.
Amini.
On this world, Rua Kinana, to high prophet from the Udawera, Rua Kinana, Rua Kinana, to high prophet from the Udawera, Rua Kinana. Told his people not to go to war. Let the white man fight the white man's war. Rua Kinana. He told his people not to go to war. Let the white man fight the white man's war. Rua Kinana. Rua left his mark on this world. Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. Skoo-doo-doo-da-da-doo-wow. Rua left his mark on this world. Rua Kinana, to high prophet from the Udawera. Rua Kinana. Rua Kinana, to high prophet from the Udawera. Rua Kinana. They lived under Mongapoatu. Children of the mist is what they call you. Oh, Tuhoi Nui Tonu. They lived under Mongapoatu. Children of the mist is what they call you. Oh, Tuhoi Nui Tonu. Rua left his mark on this world. Ooh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. Skoo-doo-doo-da-da-doo, wow. Rua left his mark on this world.
I moeroa Hoi ana I te kainga Pūkoro piako Kore kore ko iho ana te rā Takato ane I moinga ke Katahi tonu ka tutaki Rangirua ko ngā mahara Ka oho mai hoki koe I toku tai tōna Nā te hauaia kore ana Toko ingoa e mau Pēra te moeroa Te aro I hera o Ai e pai ana Ina pō Hono I te tahi Inu arua noa Kani a whānoa Taki ki te kainga Oho noa Moea pu te rā Kara whiua mai anō O e te rekai O kei taku ahai ka harawa Ina pō E pai no ana Nā hau e te tō Me haere me noho rāne Wā te ana I tēnei rā Ai e pai ana Ina pō Hono I te tahi Inu arua noa Kani a whānoa Taki ki te kainga Oho noa Moea pu te rā Kara whiua mai anō Tino mani kia rehu ngarama Tino mani no tau a te pō Tino mani kia rehu ngarama Tino mama ne te tino mama te I moeroa Hoi ana I te kainga Pūkoro piako Kore kore ko iho ana te rā He poi pai me tō aino Ne ka atu ana I te whānoa Ai e pai ana Ina pō Hono I te tahi Inu arua noa Kani a whānoa Taki ki te kainga Oho noa Moea pu te rā Kara whiua mai anō Ina pō Hono I te tahi Inu arua noa Kani a whānoa Taki ki te kainga Oho noa Moea pu te rā Kara whiua mai anō Tino mani kia rehu ngarama Tino mani no tau a te pō Tino mani kia rehu ngarama Tino mama ne te tino mama Ina pō Hono I te tahi Inu arua noa Kani a whānoa Taki ki te kainga Oho noa Moea pu te rā Kara whiua mai anō
Sila mai moa mana tau sila sila. O tama ia tama bebesima siva. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, JJ Productions proudly brings to you Jam More Jam Show.
Sometimes I think about where I was from. The palm trees, seashells, hot summer suns, Pacific colors wherever they may be. Tahiti, Tokelau, Samoa, Fiji, sing to their glory. Avatona or Niue, sing to their glory.
tai, le vau fonati. Suma le vai whanua, fo mai tulangi. Fatui o le motu, tama ana manua, toto le faleula. Valeu pentolangi atunu uesese. Minoi, 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 minoi penseloi. Asiva, siva, wana, oi, oi. Lolo, fa, pele, pele, ua, loi, loi. Suiti, sumali, peo, se boy. Tangi, tangi, oh, olo, olo, tolea. Toina, fa, apea. Toina, fa, pele, pele. Pacific colors wherever they may be. Tahiti, Tokelau,
mattress placed on an altar, like the voice that awakens me through my dreams. My language is beautiful. My language is beautiful. My language is me. My language is beautiful.
Kia ora te whānau. It's 11:38. Can we all please go back to our seats? Thank you.
Harawai. Kia ora tātou. Timotei. Kia ora.
Oh, nice. Oh. Oh. Kia ora matua machu. Nau mai hoki mai, welcome back everyone. Right now we're going to get into the most special part of our program, which is the 2026 Unity Awards.
Yep, and also heads up to all award recipients. You guys will be called back to the stage afterwards at the very end to take a group photo, and then there will be individual photos outside. Ka pai? Cool. Okay. So these awards recognise those who are actively building stronger, more connected communities. The awards will be read by the Mayor of Napier, Richard McGarth, and presented by Matua Eru and Professor Khylee Quince. Now let's give them a warm welcome to the stage, i te whānau.
Good morning all. It's certainly great this morning to see so many people sitting here. Well done for turning up and making the time. So we're going to rip into this morning. Right. The first recipient, Naomi, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Unson, nominated by Maria Roberts. Naomi is the president and head coach of the Napier Boxing Club, where she has created a welcoming, inclusive space for rangatahi to grow in confidence and well-being. Under Naomi's leadership, the club has become a positive pathway into the community for the young people who may not feel comfortable in traditional team sports. Naomi runs 4 youth sessions each week, including 2 male classes, a female class, and a free rainbow community class. Between 50 and 60 rangatahi attend regularly. Many are neurodivergent or struggle with confidence. And the club provides them with a safe place to belong. Through boxing, they develop physical fitness, self-belief, and pride in themselves. Naomi's teaching extends beyond sport. She weaves life lessons into her coaching, helping young people learn healthy ways to manage anger, stress, and challenges. Some students progress into competitive boxing and return to mentor newer members, strengthening the club's culture and support. Naomi also creates wider experiences for her athletes, travelling with them to events around the country and beyond. Much of her work is voluntary, driven by a strong sense of purpose. Naomi is deeply deserving of recognition for her commitment to uplifting Napier rangatahi. Thank you. I think you guys are presenting. I don't know. Maybe not. Speaking. Our next nominee is Lisa Hardy, nominated by Councillor Sally Crown. For more than 22 years, Lisa Hardy has given her time, expertise and heart to Birthright Hawke's Bay Child and Family Care Trust. She has served as a board chair, is currently board treasurer, and has also supported Birthright New Zealand as treasurer for around 15 years. Her contribution has been steady, responsible, and deeply influential. Lisa's commitment is grounded in personal experience and a genuine belief in the importance of supporting whānau. She has often spoken of the difference birthright made for her own family and has turned that gratitude into decades of loyal service. She holds deep respect for the organisation's legacy and is committed to protecting its future. Known for her clarity and attention to detail, Lisa brings strength and assurance to governance. She is principled, courageous, and prepared to make difficult decisions when required. Fellow board members describe her as smart, compassionate, and deeply loyal. Birthright Hawke's Bay is stronger because of Lisa's wisdom, integrity, and enduring dedication. Her service reflects a lifetime of commitment to whānau and community wellbeing. Thank you. Next up, we have Christine Hubba Harrison, nominated by Maxine Bogue. Christine Hubba Harrison is a tireless advocate for the Maraenui community and a powerful example of service in action. Competent, hard-working and deeply community-minded, Hubba balances multiple roles with strength and determination. With qualifications in Māori studies, teaching, legal executive studies and educational leadership, Hubba continues to study while working at Maraenui Kura and volunteering widely. As a mother of 9 and a grandmother, she brings lived experience, empathy and resilience to everything she does. Hubba has long advocated for housing and community wellbeing. In 2011, she helped lead Maraenui residents in opposition to large-scale housing demolitions, standing up for whānau voices at a national level. Since 2013, she has served on the two Tangata Marae Trust Committee, supporting the wellbeing and aspirations of the community. For 6 years, Hubba has organised the Manawatea Matariki celebrations, a vibrant event that highlights local talent, strengthening cultural connection and brings hundreds of people together. Her leadership, advocacy and service makes her richly deserving of recognition for her contribution to the community life in Napier. Well done.
Tēnā tātou. I just asked the mayor if I could have a kōrero and he said, let's break the rules. Ko rangi nui e tūnei, ko papatūna, ko e takoto, te kahukura a karitoki, te whaia o pānia, te kaitiaki ko more more, ngā wai o tangitū o te whanganui a rotu ki ahuriri nei, tēnei mokopuna e tuana ki te mihi ki a koutou. Ki te whare e tū nei, e whakaruruhau, ana ki a mātou, te whare e tū, hei mai maharatanga i te hoko whitu a tū, ngā pakanga o te ao, e kore mātou e warewaretia. Ki aku māhanga, ki taku mokopuna, o ku anehira pono, ki te rangatira o tēnei o ngā ropu, ngā kaiarahi, e pet, koutou katoara, kua matarikitia, tēnei te mihi ki a koutou. A piti hono tātou hono rātou, te hunga matu ki a rātou, a piti hono tātou hono, tātou te hunga ora. Tēnā koutou katoa. He uri tēnei o Ngāti Parau, ki... aroha mai. O Ngāti Parau, ki Tūpāroa, ki te panga o Waipiro, o Ngāti Kahununu ki te Wairo, o Ngāti Pahuwera, o Ngāti Kahununu ki te whanganui a Orotu, o Tāngoio, o Pētane, o Kohupātiki, o Ngāti Kahununu ki Heretaunga, o Kaitahu, o Katimāmoe, o Waitaha, o te Iwi Pākehā, o ngā Mautiri, o te Moana Nui a Kiwa. Tihei mauri ora. In the beginning, in the light of the seen and unseen, Sky Father Ranginui, Earth Mother Papatūnuku, Pānia, the Maiden, Karituki, Protector, More More, Guardian of our shores, of our waters of Tangitu, e te whanganui a Rotu, o te Matua Maui. I'm truly honoured to receive this award, and even more honourable to receive this award by my koro machi, my koro who leads our whānau, our marae, our hapu, our iwi, and all others blessed to be led by my koro through guidance in te ao Māori, me te ao hurihuri, honouring all cultures, staunch rangatira o Ngāti Kahununu o Ngāi Tūhoi, respected throughout Aotearoa and the world, Minister of Anglican Church, Te Hāhi Mihinare, Minister of Māori, Minister of Education, Minister of Health, Minister of Corrections, our Prime Minister and our whānau. Truly though, thank you for all your teachings and guidance throughout my life, koro, and thank you for everything you do for our whānau. Strength and unity. When I first met Pat McGill, through the incarceration of my mum, is where I knew of this little Pākehā man. In November 2012, pregnant with my twin sons, we became the foot soldiers of Maraenui whānau, Napier, marching to Parliament alongside our Pōmari whānau of Blower Hut, Wellington, and the Glen Innes whānau of Auckland because of the demolition of our state homes. Building communities, not prisons. I named Pat young fella, even though he was nearly 100. Because while I was waddling and wowing my feet in the march, there goes old young fella up the front, forward marching. Aotearoa's most effective networker in all cultures and governance, I stand staunch of Aotearoa's most effective networkers in first place. I was to join this young fella in the Canada Aikopa, the International Conference on Penal Abolition 2013, to speak of my experiences as a child who had experienced incarceration at different times through my parents. This was costing each of us 10,000, just under 10,000 K to get there. And I was like, oh no, I'm broke. But with his mighty connections and networking, and oh my goodness, that would have been the most best time for a little Māori girl from Maraenui Napier in Canada, like, kia ora whānau. I just had to get my passport sorted, only to have my twin sons born comfortably numb. And I lost myself in this time. Pushing through the darkness, I managed an interview with my mum alongside this young fella, and the emotions of grief from childhood to motherhood. It's on YouTube somewhere if you want to find it. But I decided to blur my face because I wanted the world to hear my story and not me, and not see me. We made it to Aikopa, Canada 2013 through video conference. In the IT suite at Kururangi Maraenui Bilingual School, and we connected with my voice heard on the international floor of a child of parents incarcerated. Thank you, Pat's outstanding comrades Mark Cleary, Alwyn, and the entire Napier City Pilot Trust for your positivity, your patience with me, and upholding the mahi you do for our city, and continuing to hold the Napier Pilot City he tūhono hāpori, hei ngākau ātawhai, hei ngākau mahaki, mo te taone o Ahuriri, building a kinder, fairer Napier City. Thank you to Pat's beautiful daughters, Jan, Jesma, and Mokopuna Jiri in Australia, for sharing your father and grandfather with us and all of the world, and more so for continuing the legacy he has left for us all. To another Hāti Ngāti or Ngāti Parau and Ngāti Kahununu, just as we are, Hāti Ngāpuhi and Te Roroa, ko koe te Amorangi, Khylee, Quince? Yes! All night I was going, Quince, quiet. Khylee Quince. Nau mai e te ararau, piki mai ra e te waipapa Toi Matarua, ka ke mai ra e runga I te mana ki te whenua, mo te tika me te pono, ki runga I te aroha me te manaakitanga, o tō iwi ki tēnei taone o Ahuriri. Our John Robson lecturer presenter, Professor Khylee Quince, the Aotearoa leader, the ararau from your many paths to success through your outstanding leadership with Waipapa Toi Matarua, AUT, which I attend for my Masters of Educational Leadership, and I've heard so much about you, so thank you. Our land and waters, the rights and the truth in your mighty mahi for criminal justice. We thank you for your mahi, and we welcome you and your excellence home to Te Whanganui Aorotu. Toi Matarua, Toi Matara, Toi Matarau, Toi Manaakitanga, Toi Māramatanga, Toi Mātauranga, Toi Mauritau, Toi Mōhio, Toi Maia, koutou, ngā mihi, ngā rangatira mua pōpō. Maxine Bogue, Councillor Bogue, Community Bogue, Napier City Bogue, my tamariki, Mokopuna and I, Nanny Max, Marae Nui Bogue, and Papa Pete, who is out there still serving our Napier City homeless, for all your love and support to my whānau and my whānau whiro, and my whānau o Marae Nui, my whānau o Oku Marae, and all of Napier in need of yours too. I love you and I thank you all. I thank you both for everything. I was surprised and grateful to be nominated, and when asked why, I replied, I was so surprised and grateful to be nominated, and I said no. And when asked why, I replied, because I have not finished the mission yet. And as time went on, my whānau and other whānau were being helped with a home, and then I felt like I could stand in my mana of manaakitanga ki te hāpori, ki te taone o Ahuriri. Last year I was supposed to receive this award. Honoured and humbling to know we are seen and we can be heard with the amazing mahi we all do. Sadly, with the loss of my newborn Mokopuna, I was away in Auckland with my daughter. This year we were to journey back to Auckland and live through the emotions of last year. Hei hiki nā te wairua, hei hiki nā te mana, hei maumaharatanga I roto I tēnei ao. With the weather's other plans, it was meant to be that we stay here, so here I am today. And to have my citation read by our Honourable Mayor of Napier, Richard McGrath. Kia ora. I had this speech all done for Richard, and then I met him at the door and I said, kia ora, I'm Haba, this is my whānau. But yeah, so I'd like to formally introduce myself to you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Haba. You may or may not have heard of me before today, and that's okay. You'll be seeing and hearing from me with some outstanding mahi and partnerships needing to build in our beautiful Napier City. While we are here at this moment and time, I would like to formally, sorry. Yeah, that. But this trust was, Well, formally introduce myself to you and say what some may think I won't, but I will because that's who I am, and I may even get the what the hell he looks, and that's okay too, because that's their eyes and their ears. I just say, shut them if you don't agree. But this trust was designated as Napier's vocal and longest-serving social justice advocacy group, and the Napier City Council agreed. And as a recipient of this outstanding award, I'm going to be vocal and continue to be in social justice. Firstly, congratulations on becoming the new Mayor of Napier. And I thank Mayor Wise for all her mighty mahi she did in Napier and our people. Though many may not agree, again, shut your eyes and ears, leadership is a challenge, and anyone who can lead their people, their city in times of remembrance, in times of need, in times of change, times of devastation, times of celebration, wow, what more can I say but thank them? Because that ain't easy, and she led well in my eyes and ears, and you will too. We just got to get that partnership and honouring Te Tiriti o Waitangi, Tangata Whenua and Tangata Tiriti, with united thoughts, united beliefs and united values to all cultures, with Aotearoa, but more importantly, with our city. As the Napier City Pilot Trust have upheld since 1986 for a safer, kinder and fairer Napier, and as Professor John Robson states, Napier, the one place to offer hope, in which I will add in the crest of the Napier City Council in faith and courage. Reflecting these attributes in the 1931 earthquakes, so shall we have faith and courage. Whakapono me te whakamana. And all that we do to bring us together for a mightier Napier. Being faithful to all our people of Napier, being a courageous leader and bringing our people together in unity. I'm keen to help. So today I thank you. I thank you for being present, because we all know everyone's busy. I thank you for making connections and to read the remarkable mahi and outstanding mahi of all the citizens within our beautiful city. Thank you for reading my citation. You took me back through a journey of my life and what brings me to becoming a mighty leader like the many of you. Times are changing and we're about moving together now. And for the future of Napier City, isn't that right, Honourable Mayor? Though the mission of a hearty, healthy, wealthy, happy, united Napier City is continuous, I will look at this achievement alongside all the rest and remember all those who have come, who have and continue to do almighty mahi, and remind myself who I am and where I come from. He mokopuna o Kathleen Huata, rawa ko Arnold Harrison, o Sandra Cook, rawa ko Pakunera, o Edina Allen Waihape, rawa ko Onewhero Garth, rātima. He tamahine o Roberta Harrison, rawa ko Malcolm Rātima, o Pep Morris, rawa ko Whironera. My mum, Roberta, a staunch wahine Māori, raised in a time and traits of trials and tribulations, but has risen from all life's challenges and works to help and works for the Napier City Council to help keep it beautiful. My dad, a senior member of the Māori Mongrel Mob Aotearoa, staunch, hearty, hard-working, successful man in his work to provide to us te tamariki, mokopuna and mokopuna tuarua. My father, Whiro, is a hearty, happy, hard-working man providing love and support in and from Australia alongside my ma Pep and my whānau. I am truly blessed with the best. And I want to thank my husband, Garrick Runga, my children, Pakunera, Kānleias, Journey and Crocus, who blessed the beautiful skies, KJ, Journey, Dynasty, my neurodiverse baby, Princess, and Robinson, and my mokopuna Alofa and Sione, who blesses the skies too. My mahi, by improving, my mahi by improving the quality of the life for all Napier citizens is to help not only my own, but all who provide the means to help our people here in Napier City. Hei whakakapinga, me waiata tātou I tēnei o ngā waiata, tūtira mai ngā iwi.
E ngai iwi kia tapatahi, kia kotahira, tātou, tātou e. Tūtira mai ngai iwi, tātou, tātou e. Tūtira mai ngai iwi, tātou, tātou e. Whai a te maramatanga, me te aroha e ngā iwi kia tapatahi, kia kotahira, tātou, tātou e. Tātou, tātou, puriti a ki a mau, hio wehi.
It's just about tomorrow. Right, let's move on to our next recipient. Manawa Ora Mobile Community Hub Team, nominated by Mark Khylee. The Manawa Ora Mobile Community Hub Team has been supporting some of Napier's most vulnerable people through consistent, compassionate service. Led by James, the team has been heading out weekly for over a year, providing nourishing food and drinks to people sleeping rough or in cars. What sets this team apart is their genuine care for the people they meet. Their work is not just about food, but about connection. They listen, build trust, and create relationships grounded in respect. The team also provides essential supplies, offers guidance, and connects people with other organisations for ongoing support. Manawa Ora is largely volunteer-driven, including cooks who reliably prepare meals and team members who show up week after week. They also work collaboratively with other groups supporting the same community, strengthening collective impact. Through steady presence and kindness, the Manawa Ora team offers dignity, reassurance and hope to those facing hardship. Their mahi reflects unity in action and demonstrates what is possible when people come together to care for their community. Well done. Our next nominee, Grayson Moana Poi, nominated by Charliza Metahi, Toi Matarua. Grayson is an inspiring rangatahi leader whose commitment to service, wellbeing and advocacy has made a strong impact in Napier. Born and raised in Maraenui, Grayson is a rangatahi leader of, I've got to get this one, Tūtariki, Toi Matua's leadership program. Sorry. After 2 years of service, Grayson was promoted to team leader of the Moko Boys, who provide free lawn and garden assistance to Kaumatua. He is passionate about mental health and fitness, and he combines these interests by leading 2 free weekly workouts for local rangatahi. Grayson has also contributed to international Indigenous research through the Family Spirit Project, representing Rangatahi Māori at Hui in Australia, Hawaii and the United States. As the first elected member, As the first elected member of the Napier Youth Council pursuing an alternative education pathway, he advocates for young people who do not thrive in mainstream systems. He has recently completed his Bronze Duke of Edinburgh Award, recognising his extensive community work. Grayson's leadership, humility and dedication ensure a strong future for rangatahi in his community. Congratulations. Right, next up we have Dee Murphy, nominated by Pete Finlay. Dee has shown long-standing commitment to unity, service and community wellbeing. Through quiet, consistent leadership, raised in Napier, Dee built a life centred on care for others while raising her daughter as a single parent. For over a decade, Dee has worked as a massage therapist, supporting both physical and emotional wellbeing. He has extended this kaupapa through voluntary service, including delivering weekly yoga classes in prisons as part of a rehabilitation program focused on healing, dignity and reintegration. Dee later managed the kitchen at the Open Door for 2 years, coordinating donations and preparing meals that supported multiple community organisations. Through this work, he formed trusted relationships with people experiencing homelessness, understanding food as a starting point for connection and care. In his role in retail security, Dee showed that compassion and firm boundaries can coexist. Across all his mahi, Dee demonstrates respect, empathy and responsibility. His sustained contribution reflects unity in action and makes him highly deserving of this award. Congratulations. See that? Thank you. Next up is Orange Sky Hawke's Bay Volunteers, nominated by Mark Cleary. The Orange Sky Hawke's Bay Volunteer Team represents the very best in community-led service. This nomination recognises every volunteer who gives their time, week after week, to support people experiencing homelessness and hardship with dignity and respect. Orange Sky offers free laundry and shower services, but at its heart, the work is about connection. Volunteers take time to kōrero, learn names, remember stories, and build trust through consistency and genuine care. They show up in all weather, offering warmth, presence, and manaaki. What makes this team special is not only what they do, but how they do it. Volunteers hold space without judgment, treat people with respect, and walk alongside whānau during difficult times. This mahi creates a space where people feel seen, heard, and valued. These ordinary people choose to do something extraordinary by serving their community with humility and araha. The Orange Sky Hawke's Bay volunteers embody unity in its truest form. Congratulations, team. Right. Next up we have Sarah Pihema, nominated by Charliza Matahi, Toi Matarua. Sarah is a dedicated rangatahi leader whose work bridges research, policy and community action. At 24, she serves as a rangatahi research lead in Kai Mahi Rangatahi at Toi Matarua, with a strong commitment to uplifting Māori youth. Sarah recently completed her Masters in Rangatahi Development Policy and is focused on embedding Māori values into youth policy at both local and national levels. She leads the Tūtariki Leadership Program, which in 2025 marked 10 years of suicide prevention mahi, and oversees Pakaru Pānui, a Rangatani communications team. She has coordinated multiple Indigenous youth exchanges, creating international opportunities for Kahununu Rangatahi. Sarah is also an award leader for the Duke of Edinburgh Award, making it more accessible for young people in Maraenui. With experience in academic research, national data systems and community leadership, Sarah brings depth, integrity and vision to her work. Her contribution continues to create lasting pathways for rangatahi wellbeing and leadership. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Just wanted to quickly say, dedicated to all our rangatahi and especially our Pakaru Pānui team. And if you've got your phones with you, if you could search up pakaru.pānui on Instagram. And if you only have Facebook, catch up. No, jokes. If you only have Facebook, search up Toi Matarua so we can, acknowledge our rangatahi and their mahi. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Cheyenne Raihania, nominated by Jess McGill. Cheyenne is the founder of I've got to get this one right. I can't even read my own writing. Maaki, the first permanent hub for rangatahi in Maraenui. Established at the Maraenui shops, the hub reflects a strong for us, by us approach shaped by Cheyenne and her sister Mons, but from their lived experience as third generation whānau in state care. Driven by the need for a circuit breaking solution, Cheyenne and Mons signed a lease without guaranteed funding, guided by a commitment to future generations. Te Hewa Mahaki is grounded in aroha, manaakitanga and whanaungatanga, creating a trusted space where young people feel safe, supported and valued. The hub offers a range of services including business mentorship, sports-based aspiration programs and support towards housing stability. Cheyenne's strong networks and relationships have helped secure donors, seed funding and council support. Through courage, vision and community connection, Cheyenne is helping to build pathways to independence for rangatahi in Maraenui and beyond. Well done, Chey. And our final recipient for this year is John Wise, nominated by Elwyn Corbyn. John has dedicated his career to making learning accessible, practical and empowering for everyday people. Appointed Head of Community Education at Hawke's Bay Community College in 1976, John championed lifelong learning grounded in community needs. Maraenui became the first pilot community for new engagement approaches under his leadership. These initiatives supported youth development, employment, training, early childhood education and community trust. Central to John's philosophy was community self-help, ensuring people could take ownership of their own development. John embraced the idea of being an educator rather than an instructor, drawing knowledge and capability from within individuals and communities. His approach fostered confidence, skills and lasting change. In later years, John continued to contribute through civic innovation, supporting citizen participation in local decision-making processes, most recently evidenced in the Napier Citizens' Assembly. Although now retired, he remains generous with his knowledge and open to meaningful dialogue. John Wise's work has left a legacy of empowerment across Napier communities. Congratulations, John. Please come up the wrong way. I'm done.
Oh, congratulations to all of our award recipients. Thank you for your invaluable mahi in our community. Can we have one more round of applause for all of them?
Our final kōrero about today is on focus is importance of having your say. He mana, he pōti. Because every voice matters. We would like to invite up Councillor Whare Isaac Charlin.
E me mai rātou e rima miniti, nā reira. Me mau i au ki te rima miniti, ka aro mai a Uncle Matt ki au, ne? Me tūpato te haere. Ahoi anō, he uri tēnei o Ngāti Kahununu ki te Wairoa, rātou ko tauranga moana ko Ngāti Manawa ki Mirupara. E mihi kauatu ki a tātou ki tēnei ahuru mō wai, tēnei whare e maumaharatia o tātou tūpuna i pakanga, i whawhai, mo te whenua, mo te whānau, mo te mokopuna, tēnā noho ki tātou. Those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Whare. I am a councillor here in Napier who was vigorously writing notes because I have only 5 minutes and I'm right in front of Uncle Matt, and so I will keep to time. I just want to say, firstly, today has been a wonderful day, so thank you so much to all our whānau that put this day together, and it's always beautiful to be in a room of like-minded, in a room full of like-minded people. But I'm going to start today with he mana ko te kaura e kore ai, because Professor Quince mentioned that earlier in her kōrero, and he mana he pōti collective movement is a call to action, but we will not get there by wishing for it. If we want change, our approach must be collective, intentional, and effective. So, vice, and not the other vice, this vice is the tool that can hold and tighten many things together. But if voting is your vice, you could probably do worse, to be fair. So, vote, the end game. That's the end game, whānau, but the main game. The ice part of the vice doesn't matter if we don't vote, whānau. Inform. Get informed, whānau, and share that knowledge. Professor Quince also spoke about incarceration. Do you want another government that builds prisons, continuing to cage our people, or a government that builds communities? What do you need your government to do for you? Think to Tiriti, perhaps, if you wanted to think about that. Check. With the current law changes, check you, your whānau, your friends are enrolled. We're going to, thanks to Shai, we're going to create some online days where you can just check that you're whānau, that you've enrolled, and that you're still on the enrolment list. If you're 17, I see a lot of our beautiful rangatahi in here today, some of them have won some amazing awards, get enrolled now, especially if you turn 18 before the 25th of October, because if you enrol today and tell all your 17-year-old mates to enrol today, and they are 18 before the voting comes around, then you automatically go into the ability to vote. This movement, it is local. It is by the people, for the people of Ahuriri Napier and Heretaunga Hastings. Our goals include a 20% increase of rangatahi taiohi votes, a 10% increase in Māori votes. He mana ko te kaura e kore ai. Don't leave it to chance, whānau. Join us and volunteer by scanning the QR code. Mata waitia mai, scan me. So there you go, take a photo of that and you're in. Lastly, special mention to Neil Gordon and Nick Ratcliffe, who are also key organisers. Congratulations also to everyone who received an award today, especially my Māori awards, ride or die, Shai, ko koe, ko au, ko au, ko koe. Puti hia, panono hia, vote for our mokopuna, vote change. Tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora whānau. As we come to a close, we reflect on what we've heard today. Stories of strength, unity and possibility. This kaupapa doesn't end here. It continues in our homes, our streets and our communities.
Okay, for our last and final segment, we would like to invite up Toi Matarua to perform an original song that's about ihi, the fires of passion that's in with us.
Can I lead the way to the fire in you? Let us reignite the embers. Don't hide. There's gonna be some hurt. Just hold on tight. You'll be alright. We gotta get you there so you can be the light.
Yo, don't hide who you are, just stand up proud and shine like a star. Be proud of who you are. You know you got that ehi, wehi, wana, te wānanga, the wana that makes ehi rangaranga. Hey, that long-lasting burn, that long-lasting light, there's gonna be some hurt, just hold on tight. You'll be alright. Hey, can you follow me? Can I lead the way? Yo.
Can I lead the way to the fire in you?
Yo.
Let's reignite the embers. Don't hide. There's gonna be some hurt. Just hold on tight. You'll be alright. We gotta get you there so you can be the
Cool.
We would like to invite up Matsua Machuiru, Te Kaha Waikirangi, and Matua Mek for closing karakia. Also, can the recipients please stay after for photos?
Kia ora.
Kia ora tātai, kia whakakapihia ke tātā tauhui. Nō reira te Māori tū, te Māori tapu. Te Māori, te whiwhia, te Māori, te rawea, te Māori nō whea, nō runa, nō rani, nō nukutū. Tēnei te Māori o tēnei kaupapa, tēnei te Māori o nā te huna kua mautikiti a rātou. Te Māori o nā marae kua tatu mai tēnei rā. Te Māori o ahuriri e tūnei. Whakaotunuku, whakaoturani te manawa ki tō manawa e rono ki tōku manawa tēnei ka whakairihia. Nō reira whano, hara mai te toki, haumi e, hui e. Kia ora tātai.
That's it, thank you.
Rongo i te whiwhia, tū i te whiwhia, kia mau ki